Chapter 987. Seeing Xiaoling again, Brother Jianchen, we'll talk about revenge in the future then since you want to do it yourself. However, when the time comes, feel free to speak out if you need the two of us. We will help you with everything we have, Heiyu said seriously. He did not seem like he was joking at all. I thank Senior's concern. However, when I become powerful enough to deal with the Yuan sect in the future, I might not need your help at all, Jianchen thanked with clasped hands. He was extremely grateful toward the two of them. However, in Jianchen's heart, he credited Ruijin and Heiyu's treatment of him to the White Tiger. Afterward, Ruijin and Heiyu decided to go with Jianchen to Mercenary City in case the Yuan sect and other protector clans wanted to ambush Jianchen again. Jianchen used a sliver of the origin energy from the Radiant Saint Force to heal his wound, before leaving with Ruijin and Heiyu. Although Mercenary City was extremely far away, the distance was nothing to Jianchen as he had two true Saint Kings beside him. Heiyu directly ripped open a space gate and traversed the distance, arriving outside the city. Jianchen saw the huge, familiar barrier around Mercenary City from afar. He could not help but think of Xiaoling's naive smile. He had already learned just how terrifying and powerful Xiaoling was from the sea goddess. Although Xiaoling seemed like an 11 or 12-year-old, she possessed strength that did not match up to her appearance at all. Her actual age was at a dumbfounding level, and she originated from the ancient times. Several hundreds of thousands or even millions of years had passed since then. Jianchen did not worry about his safety at all with the protection of Ruijin and Heiyu. As a result, he let out the White Tiger who was suffocating inside before making his way toward Mercenary City with Ruijin and Heiyu. The White Tiger was unable to erase its presence like Ruijin and Heiyu. As soon as it appeared, the pressure from its bloodline as the winged tiger god naturally pervaded the surroundings, causing the magical beasts ridden by the mercenaries nearby to collapse onto the ground and tremble. They would not get up no matter how much the mercenaries urged them, confusing them all. Mercenary City did not change at all despite so many years. It was exactly the same as when Jianchen first came here. He could see groups of mercenaries in varying attires ride in and out of the city on magical beasts. The city was bustling. The White Tiger leaped around on Jianchen's shoulders as the size of a cat, while it constantly blinked its small bright eyes. It constantly looked around, as if it found everything to be interesting. Big Brother, it's Big Brother's smell. Xiaoling can smell Big Brother and master smell. Big Brother has finally come to see Xiaoling. Xiaoling misses Big Brother so much. Xiaoling's voice rang out as soon as Jianchen entered the barrier of Mercenary City. Jianchen heard it clearly, and Xiaoling's figure slowly materialized before him. Her young face was filled with happiness. Jianchen could not help but smile from the bottom of his heart after seeing Xiaoling's naive face. Xiaoling, Big Brother has come to see you. Xiaoling furrowed her brows and revealed a sliver of unhappiness. She pouted, Bad Big Brother? Big Brother broke his promise. Xiaoling has waited for so long before you came to visit me. Xiaoling is very upset. Xiaoling is angry. Jianchen smiled bitterly. Xiaoling, it's not that Big Brother didn't want to see you, but I was forced into hiding somewhere else from the continent by the Protector clans and the Beast God continent. I only returned recently. Xiaoling, if I didn't do that, not only would it have been impossible for me to see you today, I would never be able to see you ever again. Jianchen did not notice Ruijin and Heiyu look toward him weirdly at all. He just devoted all his attention to Xiaoling. Only Jianchen could see her, while Ruijin and Heiyu could not sense her existence at all. To them, Jianchen was talking to empty air and smiling idiotically at it. He stood there as he mumbled to himself, as if he had lost his mind. Besides Ruijin and Beiyu, a few mercenaries and merchants passing by also noticed his strange actions. They all cast odd gazes toward him. Xiaoling lowered her head in thought after hearing Jianchen's explanations and finally stopped furrowing her brows. She smiled sweetly once again and said naively, Okay then, if that's the case, Xiaoling will forgive Big Brother then. But Big Brother has to come see Xiaoling often in the future. If those bad people want to bully Big Brother, just come to where Xiaoling is. Xiaoling will protect Big Brother and chase the bad people away. Jianchen nodded very much. Yeah, When Big Brother comes across bad people he cannot defeat, he'll be troubling Xiaoling. Hee hee, don't worry Big Brother. With Xiaoling here, no one can bully you, said Xiaoling as she smiled happily. Heiyu was finally at the bottom of his line as he watched Jianchen constantly mumbling to himself. He touched Jianchen and stared at him in doubt. Brother Jianchen, are you fine? Why are you talking to yourself? Who are you talking to? Jianchen finally returned to his senses when Heiyu said that. Only then did he suddenly realize that no one else could see Xiaoling unless she wanted them to. Jianchen laughed dryly and said to Heiyu, Senior, I was talking with a friend just then. The identity of my friend is relatively special. No one can see her unless she wants you to be able to see her. Is that so? We actually can't see your friend with our strength? Heiyu refused to believe that there were still people in the present day that could be so close to him yet not fear him. That person would just be too terrifying. Even Ruijin struggled to believe this. He immediately mumbled inside as he saw how serious Jianchen was. Is there really such a terrifying existence in the present world? Jianchen paid no attention to Ruijin and Heiyu's shock and continued to talk with Xiaoling. It's not convenient to talk here, Xiaoling. Let's go somewhere else. Yeah, okay. Xiaoling nodded obediently. She was just about to disappear, but then her eyes lit up. She appeared beside Jianchen and sniffed him forcefully. She immediately cried out, Big Brother, Master's smell on you is getting heavier and heavier. Did you see Master? Why does it smell like Master as well? And its scent is even heavier than Big Brother. Xiaoling was stunned as she pointed toward the white tiger. However, she came to an understanding very quickly and became even happier. She called out constantly, Big Brother, you must have seen Master. You must have seen Master. Right? Tell Xiaoling quickly. Xiaoling misses Master so much. Where is Master? Toward the end, Xiaoling's voice almost became sobs and her eyes became misty. Xiaoling, I indeed saw your master, but all he left behind was a sliver of his soul. Your master told me to inform you that once you fulfill your mission, you can be free. Also, you need to work hard on the cultivation method your master passed on to you all those years ago, said Jianchen. Then he glanced at the white tiger. He was doubtful as well. When he first saw Emotianyun was only a soul. Also, Xiaoling had said that the smell of Emotianyun on him had faded as time passed the last time he met her, yet how was it possible for it to still remain even after so much time since then? Also, Emotianyun's smell was even heavier on the white tiger? Jianchen could not understand this. Back then, the white tiger had only been out of the artifact space for a short time, nowhere as long as the time he and the heavenly enchantress were in contact with Emotianyun. Even if it now smelled like Emotianyun, it should be impossible for the scent to be heavier than the smell on himself. Is it because the white tiger has always stayed in the artifact space that Emotianyun's smell disappeared more slowly, while I had virtually spent the past years fighting and meeting people, thus making Emotianyun's smell disappear faster? Jianchen thought. Sobs, where is Master? Xiaoling said as she choked back her tears. Jianchen shook his head and replied, Xiaoling, I don't know where your master is right now either. However, if your master isn't dead, you should work hard on your cultivation. Once you fulfill your mission and become free, you can go looking for him. The flames of hope immediately ignited in Xiaoling's eyes. She shook her head determinedly and said, Big Brother is right. Xiaoling will work harder on cultivation in the future. Xiaoling will definitely go find where Master is after Xiaoling completes her mission. Suddenly, Xiaoling raised her head. She furrowed her brows and said, Why did you come again? And this time, you're standing in the air above Mercenary City. That's disrespecting Master. Move immediately, or I'll teach you a fierce lesson. It'll be even worse than last time. As she said that, the barrier of Mercenary City suddenly began to shine with a blinding light. A half-meter-wide pillar of light shot from the top of the barrier toward the sky. Boom! The space shattered as the residual energy ran amok. It caused the entire sky to darken. A middle-aged man appeared in the empty sky as he constantly shook. His clothes and hair were a mess. He was in a horrible shape. The human Saint Emperor. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The expressions of Jianchen, Ruijin and Heiyu all changed the moment the middle-aged man appeared. The Path Lord of Carnal Desires looked down in shock as soon as he appeared. Afterward, he immediately ripped open a space gate and left without any hesitation. He thought, looks like my guesses were right. Jianchen really does have a close relationship with the barrier spirit of Mercenary City. Chapter 988. Tai Ta's identity. Jianchen struggled to calm down even a long time after the Path Lord of Carnal Desires left. His heart was heavy, and even his face sank. He had never thought that the Path Lord of Carnal Desires would follow him secretly to Mercenary City. If it were not for Xiaoling, probably no one would have realized that the Path Lord of Carnal Desires was secretly surveilling him. Looks like the human Saint Emperor has yet to give up on the winged tiger god, growled Ruijin. He immediately understood what Jianchen was worrying about when he saw Jianchen's grimness. As a result, he comforted him. Brother Jianchen, you don't need to worry. As long as the two of us are here, the human Saint Emperor can't harm you. Brother Jianchen, the two of us will block him for you if he dares to attack. Don't worry, Heiyu also comforted. Jianchen's heart warmed up when he heard the two of them speak, and he responded politely. Afterward, Ruijin and Heiyu looked toward the huge barrier in the sky. Seriousness and curiosity filled their faces. They truly struggled to believe just how powerful the protective barrier of Mercenary City was with what they had just witnessed. Just a mere strike was enough to scare away a Saint Emperor. Xiaoling then looked toward Ruijin and Heiyu after repelling the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. She said after some thought, the two of you are magical beasts. Master said to not let magical beasts class 7 and up in, but since you're big brother's friends, Xiaoling won't chase the two of you away. However, don't make trouble in here. Although Ruijin and Heiyu could not see Xiaoling, they had heard her voice clearly. Their expressions immediately changed and they began to look around. They tried to find the speaker, but they found nothing even after searching for quite some time. Who is it? Who is the one talking? Heiyu called out. He revealed a rather ugly expression, as it was just too terrifying that he could not find the speaker with his current strength. Ruijin also became stern. He became filled with caution toward the hidden person. Jianchen hurried to explain as he saw how nervous Ruijin and Heiyu were. The barrier spirit of Mercenary City was no secret to a few hermit clans, and almost everyone relatively experienced on the Tianyuan continent knew about it. Only Ruijin and Heiyu knew nothing about it as they had just come out from the artifact space and were limited in their understandings of the Tianyuan continent. It was fine if Jianchen told them about Xiaoling's existence. Although Ruijin possessed some knowledge due to the inherited memories that had been passed on with each generation as a golden divine dragon, Mercenary City still had not been founded when the artifact space sucked in Ruijin's ancestor. The barrier spirit had not been created yet, so he knew nothing in regards to this. The two of them became shocked when they learned about the barrier spirit. They sighed in surprise and said, I never thought that the barrier spirit of Mercenary City would have such a lengthy life. No wonder she can repel the Path Lord of Carnal Desires so easily. Jianchen did not reveal the fact that Xiaoling was a spirit of the earth. He did not want too many people knowing about that. At this moment, more than 10 tremendous presences began to radiate from the center of the city. A group of experts hurried over with the Grand Elder Tianjian at the forefront. Xiaoling created a huge disturbance throughout the entire city when she used the barrier's power to repel the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. As a result, it attracted all the high-ranking members of Mercenary City. Jianchen, you've come. From afar, Tianjian noticed Jianchen and smiled gently. At the same time, he quickly glanced past Ruijin and Heiyu who stood beside him. Interest flashed through Tianjian's eyes. Tianjian knew that Jianchen was close with the barrier spirit, so he asked Jianchen, Jianchen, do you know what happened just then? Why did the power of the barrier suddenly surge? It was the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Jianchen explained what had happened. Tianjian's face sank slightly right after he heard everything, and he said, I never thought that the Path Lord would come to my Mercenary City. Looks like he didn't suffer enough last time. But we have the protective barrier, so he can't enter no matter what. Jianchen and Tianjian conversed some more, before being taken into the independent space by Tianjian through a special technique. It was the space where the divine hall floated, while Rui Jin and He Yu were left behind in Mercenary City. He did not bring them along. Arriving in this somewhat familiar space once again, the feeling it gave Jian Chen was worlds apart from the previous times. As his strength increased, he could feel how wondrous the technique used to carve out the space was with more and more clearly. Jian Chen floated in the space as he faced the divine hall he had seen many times. He did not know the origins and strength of the divine hall before, but now, he could tell from a single glance that it was also one that was made by a Saint Emperor. He could even feel a great pressure from it vaguely as if it stood like a mountain. It was suffocating. Tianjian smiled and he explained when he saw Jian Chen staring unblinkingly at the divine hall. This divine hall is one of the most valuable treasures of Mercenary City. It was personally created by the city lord all those years ago. It's extremely tough, such that even Saint Emperors can't break through it. Once upon a time, there were some disagreements between my Mercenary City and the 10 Protector clans. All 10 Protector clans sent out all their people, resulting in over 20 Saint Emperors arriving. Only our Saint Emperor Grand Elder fought them, using the Divine Hall to suppress the 10 Protector clans. He had even succeeded in heavily injuring over a dozen Saint Emperors. The Divine Hall before you is different from other Divine Halls. Other Divine Halls created by Saint Emperors have no other external uses other than being tough, while the Divine Hall before you was created personally by the City Lord. Other than its supreme defense, it possesses an extremely great power in combat. It can deal with Saint Emperors. At this point, Tianjian's face sank and he sighed gently. Although the Divine Hall is extremely powerful, the requirements for controlling it is great as well. You need to be a Saint Emperor, while there are no longer any Saint Emperors in my Mercenary City. Otherwise, just it will be enough to repel the Beast God Continent's invasion. The Divine Hall has already sat here collecting dust for thousands of years. I have tried to control it during that time, but all my attempts have resulted in failure. I succeeded once, but it was only the fusion with my soul and it separated very quickly again. Jian Chen also felt pity regarding this matter when he heard about it. It was basically torture for such a powerful divine hall to exist but with no one able to use it. Tianjian sighed deeply before dismissing his emotions. Ming Dong and your friend Tai Ta is cultivating inside the divine hall. Jian Chen, please come with me. Jian Chen followed Tianjian into the divine hall. They passed through countless palaces before arriving in a large hall. Jian Chen spotted Ming Dong and Tai Ta as soon as he entered the hall. They sat on the ground cultivating. He struggled to remain calm, becoming rather emotional. Both Ming Dong and Tai Ta's strength had increased greatly after so many years of not seeing them. Just by their presences alone, Jian Chen could tell with a single glance that Ming Dong had reached the peak of Heaven Saint Master, while Tai Ta was even more powerful. He was at the third heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. However, Jian Chen felt puzzled when he saw Tai Ta's huge, burly body, his golden skin, and the imprint of an axe on his forehead. Tai Ta's changes were just too great in these years. Jian Chen had almost failed to recognize him. Ming Dong's talent is extremely good, and he has been working arduously on his cultivation in the past few years. That's why he could reach the peak of Heaven Saint Master at such a young age. However, the chasm between Heaven Saint Master and Saint Ruler is not that easy to cross. He has already stagnated at his current level of cultivation for a few years now. Tianjian's tone was positive even though he was nonchalant. Ming Dong had not become a Saint Ruler yet, but his current accomplishments could already be described with the word earth-shaking. Tianjian then looked toward Tai Ta and his expression became mixed. He said, though Jian Chen, your friend's identity is quite complicated. If I hadn't brought him to Mercenary City in time back then, he probably would have been taken away by the Protector clans. Jian Chen's expression changed slightly when he heard that. He could not help but think back to the matter of Tai Ta's golden blood. Senior Tianjian, just what is Tai Ta's identity? And what connection does he have with the Protector clans? Tianjian stared deeply at Tai Ta and said steadily, he's the war god of the 100 races, an existence similar to that Ergens who surpassed Saint Emperor in the ancient times. What? Tai, he's actually, Jianchen mind rumbled as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue, completely stunned in that moment. Deep shock and disbelief flooded his entire mind. The young man from the countryside who studied at Kargath Academy in Lore City back then actually possessed such a terrifying identity. He was actually the war god of the 100 races. This was something that even Jianchen struggled to believe. Tianjian sighed deeply and continued, "It does sound extremely absurd. It's very hard to convince people, but that is the truth. Tai Ta is indeed the war god of the 100 races." In the ancient times, a great war had once erupted between the 3 of the 4 great races, with only the sea realm not taking part. The 100 races were chased out of the beast god continent and had once tried to invade our Tianyuan continent under the lead of Ergens. We suffered defeat after defeat, and many predecessors from the 10 protector clans died in the hands of the war god. If it weren't for the strongest human who appeared out of nowhere in the most crucial moment, defeating the 100 races all by himself, Tianyuan continent would probably no longer belong to us humans. As a result, the protector clans have an extremely deep hatred for the war god of the 100 races. If they knew that Tai Ta was the war god, Tai Ta would definitely fail to escape death. They would avenge their predecessors on one hand, and remove a supreme expert of the 100 races and thus a future threat on the other hand. Our current continent no longer has an expert like Mo Tianyun. If the war god matures successfully and decides to lead the 100 races to invade the Tianyuan continent again, what power do we have to stop the war god? Back then, when I discovered Tai Ta's identity, I definitely wouldn't have saved him if it wasn't for his relationship with you, because it would bring on an apocalypse for the Tianyuan continent if the matter wasn't handled correctly. Chapter 989. The 3 soul-controlling techniques. Jianchen became silent after hearing Tianjian's words. He felt extremely uneasy after Tai Ta's identity was confirmed. At the same time, he understood very well that Tai Ta was still the war god of the 100 races even though he was innocent himself. The previous war god and the 100 races were enemies of the Tianyuan continent. After the effects from all those years ago, the 10 protector clans would definitely not let him go. Jianchen felt a lingering fear after he learned the scale of matters Tai Ta's identity connected to. If Tianjian had not made it in time and the protector clans arrived before he could take Tai Ta to Mercenary City, the outcome would have been unimaginable. Jianchen might have ended up losing a friend forever. Jianchen did not care at all even though Tai Ta's true identity was not human. To him, it did not matter what Tai Ta's true identity was or what he became. He could always remain a good friend. Suddenly, an idea flashed through Jianchen's head. He thought back to the golden drop of blood he had come across on Dragon Island and thought, that drop of blood was left behind by Ergens and it contains a great energy. Tai Ta's also a war god, so can he absorb that blood? If he can, his strength will definitely skyrocket. Looks like I need to take Tai Ta to Dragon Island when I have the time, thought Jianchen. At this moment, Ming Dong and Tai Ta's presences rippled as they cultivated. They woke up at the same time and actually discovered Jianchen as soon as they opened their eyes. They stared blankly at first, before returning to their senses. They became excited. "Jianchen, you're actually back," Ming Dong immediately cried out. He shot up to Jianchen and hugged him. He felt extremely emotional. "Fantastic! Jianchen, you finally returned." Tai Ta also stood up and looked at Jianchen, who only reached up to his chest. Emotions filled his face as well. Jianchen and Ming Dong separated and arrived before Tai Ta. Jianchen heavily punched Tai Ta's huge, 3-meter-tall body as he stared at him. "Tai Ta, you've grown even bigger after not seeing you for so many years." Tai Ta smiled straightforwardly and scratched his head. He said with his deep, soft voice, "I don't know why either. I'm just growing bigger and bigger." Jianchen, Ming Dong, and Tai Ta talked for some more. Suddenly, Ming Dong seemed to think of something. His face sank and he looked at Jianchen apologetically and said, "Jianchen, I'm sorry. We were useless. We failed to protect your Flame City. The Extinguishing Alliance took it under the lead of by Jian." Tai Ta's face also sank when he heard Ming Dong mention that. His gaze toward Jianchen also became filled with regret and shame. Tai Ta always blamed himself for the matter of Flame City, even though he was not at fault at all. Jian Chen broke into laughter when he heard them mention this. He replied, I know about it already, but don't worry. No one can take things that belong to me. I have already retaken the Flame City that was once occupied by the Extinguishing Alliance. Ming Dong and Tai Ta's faces immediately lit up with joy. However, Ming Dong seemed to think of something again. His brows furrowed in worry and he said, But Jian Chen, the 10 protector clans of the continent will not let us take Flame City. If the protector clans interfere again, we won't have the power to keep Flame City at all, even if Uncle Tian makes an appearance. The 10 protector clans, Jian Chen murmured softly. He could not help but smile coldly as he continued, If the 10 protector clans want to interfere, I'll definitely let them leave with more than they bargained for. Although the 10 protector clans had emperor armaments that could break through his divine hall, the power of the weapons were just too great. They could only be used in crucial moments. Unless the protector clans were forced into a situation like the Yuan sect before, Jian Chen refused to believe that the protector clans would use the emperor armaments so easily. However, even if they wanted to use it against him, Jian Chen was supported by the protector Changyang clan, so he at least had the power to resist. Additionally, Tianjin and Mercenary City could also stop them. It would not be easy for them to successfully use the emperor armaments. Lastly, Jian Chen had Rui Jin and He Yu beside him, 2 experts that could fight on par with Saint Emperors. He did not need to feel fear even if the protector clans ran the risk of offending Mercenary City and used the emperor armaments against him in the end. Although the protector clan's emperor armaments possessed the might of Saint Emperors, Rui Jin and He Yu possessed origin energy armor, and even Saint Emperors would personally struggle to injure them. As a result, the emperor armaments could not harm the 2 of them at all. Tai Ta and Ming Dong became surprised immediately after they heard Jian Chen's words. They both stared at him with wide eyes. My God, you don't even fear the protector clans now, Jian Chen. Just what level of cultivation have you reached now? Can you contend against the protector clans now? Ming Dong cried out. If I use my emperor armament, I can fight hand in hand with 7th heavenly layer Saint Kings, said Jian Chen with a smile. He hid very few things from Ming Dong and Tai Ta. However, Tai Ta and Ming Dong's hearts began to churn after they heard these words. They were filled with disbelief. 7th heavenly layer Saint Kings. My God, Jian Chen, you've become that powerful, stuttered Ming Dong as he looked at Jian Chen dumbfoundedly. Currently, the shock within him had peaked. Tai Ta also stared blankly for quite a while before gradually returning to his senses. He sighed emotionally and said, Jian Chen, and I had thought that I had improved quickly in the past years and had exceeded you already. Never did I think you'd still be stronger than me after not seeing each other for a few years. Moreover, the difference between the 2 of us is getting wider and wider. Looks like I can never surpass you for the rest of my life. Jian Chen smiled at what Tai Ta had said and replied, Tai Ta, you need to be confident in yourself. You need to be confident that you can surpass me in the future and become someone who surpasses Saint Emperor on the Tianyuan continent. Can I really surpass Saint Emperor? Tai Ta's eyes immediately lit up when Jian Chen mentioned surpassing Saint Emperor. Jian Chen, Ming Dong, and Tai Ta talked some more, before looking toward Tianjin. Jian Chen's expression changed very quickly, becoming filled with some pain. Senior Tianjin, I want to see the bodies of mother and father, Jian Chen said with a deep voice. The happiness he had experienced from reuniting with Ming Dong and Tai Ta immediately vanished after he thought about his parents. Tianjin nodded silently. He said, Come with me. With that, he turned around and walked toward the exterior of the Divine Hall. Jian Chen immediately followed Tianjin to the location where his parents' bodies were stored. Ming Dong and Tai Ta also controlled their feelings, following behind Jian Chen heavy-heartedly. The 2 of them also felt extremely sorrowful and pained over what had happened to Jian Chen's parents. Jian Chen arrived in a room of the Divine Hall after Tianjin. The entire room was filled with icy cold air, causing a faint layer of frost to form on the walls. The air inside was white and a cold mist floated there as well. As soon as Jian Chen entered the room, his eyes locked onto the huge ice casket in the center. He could clearly see his parents through the transparent ice. They laid there silently. To preserve the bodies of your parents even better, I specially visited the Arctic and returned with some Arctic ice. It can ensure that your parents' bodies will not rot even after 1,000 years. Jianchen, you've parted with your parents for so many years. You should really spend some time together with them again, Tianjian said with mixed emotions, before backing out with Ming Dong and Tai Ta. Only Jianchen remained in the icy cold room. Jianchen slowly walked up to the ice caskets and looked at the silent faces of his parents. Unknowingly, tears began to roll down his face. The person who said men bled but did not cry clearly was never emotionally hurt. Outside, Jianchen was a merciless, indomitable person. No matter how much blood he bled or how intense the pain and torture he endured, he had never cried. He seemed like a person with a heart of stone. However, he still internally retained a soft side. That was the side of his relatives and family. Jianchen stared at his parents blankly. Dazed, he began to think of the past again, thinking about the concern, meticulous care, and love from his mother. He also recalled her beautiful and benevolent face. Mother, father, your child has returned. Your child has returned to see you. Your child is now a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master and will be able to awaken you from your slumber very quickly, murmured Jianchen. With a thought, a golden streak of light immediately shot from the center of his eyebrows, turning into a golden tower before him. Jianchen then entered it. Inside the artifact space, Jianchen sat with his legs crossed in a rather dark room within the huge hall. The artifact spirit stood politely to one side in the form of a white-clothed, middle-aged man. Artifact spirit, pass the 3 soul-controlling techniques onto me immediately, growled Jianchen. Only by learning the 3 techniques could he revive the dead. Yes, master, the artifact spirit replied courteously. Afterward, he passed on the cultivation method of the 3 techniques by mouth to Jianchen. Chapter 990. Reviving the Dead. The 3 soul-controlling techniques were wondrous techniques made for Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. It could revive the dead. All that was needed was a sliver of Radiant Saint Force origin energy, given that the person's soul had not been wiped out and that their body was stored under perfect conditions. It would not leave any after effects, allowing the revived person to retain all their memories. The 3 techniques were broken up into condensing the soul, nourishing the soul, and fusing the soul. Condensing the soul was gathering the soul scattered throughout the world, while the second technique was to nourish these scattered pieces and make them join together into a whole soul. The third technique was to fuse the soul perfectly with the body of the person being revived, bringing them back from the dead. The 3 techniques were made especially for reviving the dead and had no other uses. Only Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters and beyond could learn it. Although the artifact spirit knew the 3 techniques and could be considered as a great Radiant Saint Master, he was not human, so he could not practice the techniques. As a result, the artifact spirit did not possess the power to revive the dead. After learning all 3 techniques from the artifact spirit, Jianchen stayed in the artifact space as he practiced them. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, Jianchen had already stayed in Mercenary City for 3 months. During this entire time, he practiced the 3 techniques within the artifact space, without taking a single step out. Tianjian, Ming Dong, and Tai Ta did not disturb Jianchen. However, Tianjian left long ago, so only Ming Dong and Tai Ta remained outside the icy cold room as they waited silently. After 3 months, Jianchen finally began to move in the huge hall of the artifact space. He slowly opened his eyes. Immediately, his eyes flashed with a visible light. His gaze seemed even brighter than before. Jianchen finally learned the 3 techniques after 3 months of comprehension. Although the techniques could not make him stronger, his soul had grown by a quantitative amount after learning it. As a result, his presence could cover an increased area. Artifact spirit, send me out of the artifact space, Jianchen said rather patiently. He wanted to revive his parents as soon as possible after learning the 3 techniques. With a flash of white light, Jianchen disappeared from the artifact space. By the time he had reappeared, he had returned to the icy cold room. Jianchen stared emotionally at his parents in the ice casket. He felt rather excited and a little uneasy. He was excited that his parents were about to be revived and would be able to walk the earth again, but he felt uneasy over the possibility of accidents during the process. An accident could potentially destroy any hopes of bringing back his parents. After all, he was inexperienced in this aspect. "Mother, father, you've already slept for so long. It's about time you woke up. Don't worry, your child will wake you up immediately," Jianchen murmured as he touched the casket gently. Afterward, he directly lifted up the ice casket with his thought and carried it out of the room. "Jianchen, what are you doing?" Ming Dong and Tai Ta noticed Jianchen as soon as he exited the room. They immediately cried out when they saw Jianchen carrying the ice casket. "I want to revive my parents and let them see the light of day again," Jianchen said positively. Ming Dong and Tai Ta both stared blankly, stunned by these words. At this moment, Tianjian walked in from outside. His eyes shone with interest as he looked at Jianchen. Tianjian asked, "Have you already become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, Jianchen?" Jianchen nodded and said, "Senior Tianjian, the revival of my parents must be performed outside. Only outside can I gather my mother and father's souls." Tianjian nodded solemnly and said, "Come with me." Afterward, Jianchen followed Tianjian out of the independent space with the ice casket on his shoulders. Ming Dong and Tai Ta followed behind him as well. Rui Jin and He Yu immediately flew over from afar when Jianchen reappeared in Mercenary City. However, they both became stunned when they noticed the ice casket on Jianchen's shoulder. They became doubtful, and just when they wanted to ask him about it, they noticed Jianchen's sternness, so they choked back their questions. Mercenary City possessed a protective barrier, and Jianchen was worried that the revival would be affected by it. As a result, he walked toward outside the city with the ice casket on his shoulder. Meanwhile, Rui Jin, He Yu, Ming Dong, and Tai Ta followed closely behind him. Tianjian followed along as well. Jianchen immediately drew everyone's attention as he walked through the streets of Mercenary City with the ice casket. All of them pointed at him as they discussed. No one had ever dared to stride through Mercenary City with such a huge coffin in all these years. After all, Mercenary City was a consecrated holy land to all the mercenaries. Many mercenaries struggled to bear with Jianchen's actions. A few mercenaries with decent strength immediately wanted to stand forward and lecture him. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City traveled with Jianchen, but an ordinary person could not discern his status. Meanwhile, Rui Jin and He Yu seemed just like ordinary people to these mercenaries, so they possessed no deterrence. However, just when they wanted to stand forward, a supreme battle intent suddenly attacked them. It was as if a warhammer had been swung mercilessly at their heads. The battle intent did not arouse their own desire to battle. Instead, it functioned as an extremely great pressure and deterrence, directly crushing any will to fight within them. Instead, it aroused fear from the bottom of their hearts. It completely frightened them, removing all of their courage to stop Jianchen. The one who stopped them was naturally Tai Ta. Tai Ta now had a high degree of proficiency and control over his own battle intent. Not only could he affect their spirits and throw them into a mindless state as they fought, but he could also completely crush their desires to fight as well. This allowed him to subdue enemies without even fighting. However, that was only if the opponent was not too strong. "Big brother, you can't go too far. If those bad people come bullying you, Xiaoling will help you chase them away." Xiaoling's voice rang in Jianchen's head as soon as he crossed the barrier. She seemed to know what Jianchen wanted to do next. Finally, Jianchen stopped in an empty region 10 kilometers away from the city before opening the ice casket. He slowly closed his eyes as he prepared to cast the three techniques. Rui Jin, He Yu, Tianjian, Ming Dong, and Tai Ta all stood beside him quietly. They wanted to witness a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master reviving the dead, as well as protect Jianchen from any interference from others. Tianjian looked at Jianchen's back with mixed emotions and thought, "The sea goddess is still alive, the war god of the 100 races has reappeared, and even the winged tiger god of the beast god continent has appeared as well." In the current world, 3 of the 4 great races have their supreme experts. Only my Tian Yuan continent is without one. Jian Chen's talent is unprecedented, having reached such a level of cultivation with his age. He also has a mysterious relationship with the barrier spirit of Mercenary City. Looks like he will be the future hope of the continent. Similar thoughts like that had bloomed in his heart ever since Jian Chen reached Saint Ruler. However, he was even more certain now. The other people present had no idea what Tian Jian was thinking. They all stared at Jian Chen unblinkingly. A milky white energy slowly began to float out from the top of Jian Chen's head. This was a sliver of radiant Saint Force origin energy. Under Jian Chen's control, the origin energy split into two and a sliver fused with Bai Yuntian's body. The other strand remained in the air. Immediately, Bai Yuntian's body became covered by a dense layer of milky white light. Then, Jian Chen gently extended a finger and forcefully cut open Bai Yuntian's wrist. He removed a droplet of blood. Under Jian Chen's mental control, the droplet of blood fused with the other strand of origin energy, dyeing it red. Afterward, Jian Chen chanted, "With the blood as a medium, I search the world for the soul." First technique of the 3 soul-controlling techniques, gather. The origin energy of radiant Saint Force that had fused with Bai Yuntian's blood dispersed in the surroundings. It used Bai Yuntian's blood as a medium to search for the soul fragments scattered across the world. Jian Chen's eyes remained closed as he stood there without moving. In that moment, his soul seemed to have fused with the origin energy of radiant Saint Force, taking his body with it as he searched for the familiar soul fragments. A while later, the space before Jian Chen began to twist slightly. The origin energy that had dispersed reappeared before him, this time shining with an even brighter and more dazzling milky white light. There were a few spots of dark red and a few pieces of a soul in the light. This was Bai Yuntian's soul. Jian Chen had gathered all the soul fragments using the condensing technique. Tian Jian, Rui Jin, He Yu, and Tai Ta's eyes all froze. They could feel the existence of Bai Yuntian's soul as they were all saint rulers or above, which made them extremely amazed. Although they were powerful, some even at the peak of Saint King, gathering the souls like this technique before them far exceeded their capabilities. Second technique of the 3 soul-controlling techniques, condense. Jian Chen forcefully suppressed his internal excitement and called out once again. As he said the word, condense, Bai Yuntian's soul fragments began to condense quickly, forming a faint figure in the end. Last technique of the 3 soul-controlling techniques, fuse. Jian Chen said quickly as his lip trembled. Under the control of his mind, the nourishment of the radiant Saint Force origin energy, and a droplet of blood, Bai Yuntian's soul slowly fused into the body within the ice casket. It was the final part to reviving the dead. Bai Yuntian's entire body became enveloped in a bright white light, causing her figure to become blurry. Jian Chen sighed deeply after completing the process. He looked at Bai Yuntian with excitement and mixed emotions. He was filled with anticipation. This was the final step to bringing back the deceased, fusing the soul with the body into one once again. Whether the person could return or not would completely depend on this step. Chapter 991. Parents' Revival. The final step of fusing the soul with the body required some time. It was not as fast as the 2 previous steps. Bai Yuntian's entire body became enveloped in a bright white light. The light gradually permeated the ice caskets before enveloping it completely. Her soul slowly re-entered her body with the help of the radiant Saint Force origin energy inside her head. Jian Chen, Tian Jian, and the others watched Bai Yuntian fixedly. They were all filled with anticipation. The mercenaries entering and leaving the city noticed the powerful white light from the origin energy. It immediately drew many of them over, but before they could approach the region, they were blocked by an invisible force. However, this did not reduce the mercenaries' curiosity at all. They watched from afar, which caused more and more people to gather in the end. Very soon, it had even attracted a few old, knowledgeable mercenaries who cried out, "That's the Radiant Saint Force that can only be controlled by Radiant Saint Master. Look at the coffin before the caster. Is it a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master resurrecting the dead, making the people in the coffin live again?" As a chain reaction, All the mercenaries who watched on out of interest became stunned. They all looked toward Jian Chen's group with respect and admiration that they struggled to hide. Ordinary Radiant Saint Masters were probably extremely commonly seen in Mercenary City. It would not attract anyone's attention. However, it would be a different story if they were Class 7. This was because there were just too few Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters on the Tianyuan continent. There were only 20 or so of them, even with the whole continent in perspective. As such, they were even rarer than Saint Kings. Meanwhile, a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master had just appeared outside Mercenary City, currently casting the technique to resurrect the dead. This was something so rare that could never be seen even across thousands of years. The news of a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master bringing back the dead outside Mercenary City spread very quickly, immediately creating a huge disturbance. Even more people hurried out from the city. They all wanted to see the heaven-defying abilities of a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. Some individuals from larger clans even considered pulling the Class 7 Radiant Saint Master to their side or recruiting them. Very quickly, a huge, densely packed crowd gathered outside the city. All of them watched on from 5 kilometers away, while a few Heaven Saint Masters took to the skies. They watched from high up, not because they did not want to approach Jian Chen's group, but because no one had the power to cross the 5-kilometer boundary. Although Jian Chen's group knew what was happening in the surroundings, no one cared about it. All of them devoted their attention to Bai Yuntian inside the ice casket. Time passed slowly. Night fell and day broke once more. 24 hours had passed in the blink of an eye, and during this time, nothing happened to the light around Bai Yuntian. Jian Chen and the others stood like statues for the entire day. A great group of people had gathered from Mercenary City. Although a whole day had passed, their numbers failed to decrease and had even increased. They formed a densely packed encirclement around Jian Chen and the others. At this moment, the milky white light around Bai Yuntian began to fade and disappeared at a visible rate. Those with sharp eyes could tell that the light was not actually vanishing, but rather slowly entering Bai Yuntian's body. She was absorbing it. Bai Yuntian's change caused Jian Chen's eyes to freeze. Then he closed his eyes, using the 3 soul techniques to check on the condition of Bai Yuntian's soul. When he opened his eyes once again, delight filled his face. It succeeded, it succeeded. My mother's soul has successfully fused with her body, Jian Chen said with a trembling voice. He was so ecstatic that he became rather unnatural. He had looked forward to this day for far too long. Ming Dong, Tai Ta, and the others all smiled as well. They were happy for Jian Chen that he could revive his parents. The milky white light completely disappeared and the paleness slowly receded from Bai Yuntian's face. It was replaced by a rosy red, but she did not wake up. According to the records of the 3 techniques, those who do not wake up immediately have their souls in an extremely weak form, which can't support their bodies. The souls need to be nourished for a period of time, with a maximum length of 3 days, Jian Chen murmured excitedly. Without any hesitation, he used the 3 techniques once more to revive Changyangba. After another day, Jian Chen successfully gathered Changyangba's soul and fused it into this body. However, he did not wake up either. Both their souls were very weak and needed to be nourished in the body for a period of time before they were able to wake up. Jian Chen's excitement had already peaked with the revival of his parents. He struggled to calm down even after quite a lengthy amount of time. Jian Chen, let's bring your parents into the city first. They can slowly awaken there, Tianjian said as he saw more and more people gather in the surroundings. Jian Chen agreed without any hesitation to this suggestion. He wanted to find a peaceful place for his parents to awaken. Afterward, Jian Chen's group took to the air as Jian Chen carried the ice casket. They flew toward the city, directly entering it through the air. Mercenary City had an iron rule that no one could fly within the city, or they would suffer the punishment of the barrier spirit. As a result, all the mercenaries became wide-eyed when they saw Jian Chen's group enter directly through the air. They did not suffer any punishment, which caused the gazes of all the mercenaries to be filled with admiration. They must be part of the upper echelon of Mercenary City. Only the upper echelon have the right to fly in the city, discussed quite a few people. Jianchen did not return to the Divine Hall. Instead, he went to another independent space under Tianjian's lead. He settled down in a luxurious palace, quietly waiting for his parents to wake up. Ruijin and Heiyu remained outside. Xiao Ling was already extremely merciful for letting the two of them into the city. No foreign race could enter the spaces carved open within Mercenary City. Jianchen, Mingdong, and Tai Ta waited beside Bai Yuntian and Changyangba for the two to wake up. After 2 whole days, Bai Yuntian's finger finally twitched slightly. Then her eyes slowly opened. Her eyes were filled with confusion. "Mother, you've finally woken up," Jianchen called out with a trembling voice. Tears began to well uncontrollably in his eyes. Bai Yuntian's eyes froze when she heard this familiar voice. The confusion quickly vanished from her eyes and she looked toward the direction of the voice. She immediately discovered Jianchen's face, a face she was most familiar with. "Xiang'e," Bai Yuntian cried out. Her memories surged forth like a flood, before they stopped at the moment when Old Man Situ and his 4 other cronies had come to cause trouble for the Changyang clan. Bai Yuntian's face changed abruptly when her memories reached there. She cried out, "Xiang'e, there's Saint Ruler coming to get you." Bai Yuntian had no idea she was no longer in the Changyang clan as she had just woken up. She subconsciously wanted to stand up from the bed, but as soon as she moved, she discovered that she was completely powerless. She could not even stand up. "Mother, just lie there and don't move. Rest well first. The matters from before have already passed. Those Saint Rulers can no longer oppress me," Jianchen said gently as he hurried to urge Bai Yuntian to lie down. These slight movements seemed to have consumed all the power left in Bai Yuntian. She collapsed powerlessly onto the bed and heaved heavily for quite a while. Then she asked, "Xiang'e, just what has happened to me? Why don't I have any power?" Bai Yuntian's eyes suddenly narrowed as she said that. She became shocked and murmured, "I clearly remember that I died to the hands of that Saint Ruler, so how am I still alive? Xiang'e, what is this all about? And where is this place? It doesn't seem like the Changyang clan." "Mother, this is Mercenary City." Jianchen started to explain everything from start to end. "What did you say?" "Xiang'e, it has already been 10 years since then? And my life was resurrected by your abilities as a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master?" Bai Yuntian became tongue-tied after she learned everything that had happened in all those years. She became filled with disbelief. Jianchen nodded and replied, "Mother, there's also Father. Father has been saved by me as well, but he's currently unconscious. He should wake up shortly." Afterward, Jianchen, Mingdong, and Tai Ta sat down beside Bai Yuntian and began talking with her. They told her the matters that had occurred in the past 10 years as well as the changes to the Changyang clan bit by bit. However, they did hide some parts. Half a day later, Changyangba woke up as well. He learned about his current situation from Jianchen very quickly and also became tongue-tied. He struggled to calm down after a very long time. The one most excited was definitely Jianchen as his parents both woke up. Jianchen had never been so happy even with all the years that had passed. Jianchen spoke some more with his parents, before leaving with Mingdong and Tai Ta. He left them in a safe environment to rest well. This was also to give them some time to accept what was going on. In the next few days, Jianchen made soup from 100-year-old heavenly resources, which possessed a mild medicinal effect to nourish his parents' body. Afterward, he slowly increased it to several 100-year-old heavenly resources, and then 1,000-year-old and several 1,000-year-old heavenly resources. His parents had just been resurrected. Their souls and bodies had been separated for so long. Although their bodies had been maintained perfectly and had been nourished by the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force, a huge disparity still existed if they were compared to the bodily conditions of ordinary people. They needed to slowly recuperate. Bai Yuntian and Changyangba recovered quickly under the medicine made from the heavenly resources. They made a full recovery in just half a month. The two of them had completely accepted the unbelievable facts that lay before them after the half a month of buffering. They knew that they had died once already. Chapter 992. Whereabouts of 7 Beast Furs. Jianchen finally completely his greatest wish with the revival of his parents. He was extremely happy in the past few days. Half a month later, Jianqin gathered with Bai Yuntian and Changyangba. The two had fully recovered. However, something heavy seemed to be weighing on their minds. Xiang'e, we've stayed at Mercenary City for so long. It's about time we leave. We'll be returning to the Changyang clan, said Bai Yuntian. Sigh, so much time has passed in the blink of an eye. Xiang'e, we've left the Changyang clan for just too long. We learned about some of the situations the Changyang clan experienced, but we're still impatient to return. Since that's our home, Changyangba said as well. The thought of going home had laid in the couple's minds the whole time they rested. They were just too weak before, so they did not mention it. Jianqin agreed without any hesitation after hearing this. He said, Mother, Father, since you want to return so much, let's leave Mercenary City as soon as possible. Jianqin seemed to think of something as he spoke up to there. He hesitated slightly before speaking with mixed emotions. Mother, Father, the clan has changed greatly now. Because I wanted you to recuperate peacefully after having your souls fuse into your bodies, I hid some things from you. Jianqin had indeed explained the situation of the Changyang clan to the couple roughly in the past few days, but he did not go into detail. He hid a lot of matters and did not mention the protector clans at all. He did this so that his recently revived parents could recover peacefully. After all, it would just be too shocking for the two if he recounted the connection between the Changyang clan of Lore City and the protector Changyang clan. Jianqin no longer had any worries now that Bai Yuntian and Changyangba had both made full recoveries. He narrated everything regarding the Changyang clan in a more complete fashion, including the situation with the Changyang clan of the protector clans and the return of the founder, Changyang Zhu Yunkong. Changyangba and Bai Yuntian were about to return to the clan, so Jianqin only wanted to let them know about the situation beforehand. This would allow them to mentally prepare themselves. That way, they would not become dumbfounded after they returned. Changyangba and Bai Yuntian both become dumbstruck once again after learning these matters. Their hearts churned, and they struggled to calm down even after a very long time. The two of them had never thought that the clan would have such a profound history, much less think that the founder was actually a member of the 10 protector clans of the continent. Jianqin left the room, providing his parents with a peaceful environment so that they could accept everything. Jianqin only skimmed over what he had gone through in the past 10 years with a few sentences and did not go into the details. He had experienced quite a lot of bloodshed and danced between the edge of life and death many times. He did not plan on telling his parents about this, as it would make them worry. At the same time, Jianqin did not tell them about his conflict with the 10 protector clans. That was not something for the couple to interfere with at all, so if he told them about it, it would only burden them. Afterward, Jianqin found Ming Dong and Tai Ta. He had learned from Tianjian that Ming Dong had reached the peak of Heaven's Saint Master long ago and had always been stuck at the obstacle of reaching Saint Ruler, unable to break through. Jianqin pulled out 3 pieces of white beast fur and a scroll from his space ring. Then he passed these things to Ming Dong. He said, Ming Dong, these items can assist you in the comprehension of the mysteries of the world and thus help you with your breakthrough. I relied on them to reach Saint Ruler before. You should stay in Mercenary City and work hard on cultivation in the next few days so you can reach Saint Ruler as fast as possible. Ming Dong did not try to turn these items down out of politeness and took the 3 beast furs and the scroll from Jianqin. He nodded determinedly and said, Don't worry, Jianqin. The next time we meet, I would have definitely already become a Saint Ruler. At this moment, Tianjian walked in from outside. He casually glanced at the items in Ming Dong's hand. At the very start, he paid no mind to it, but in the next moment, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He began to stare fixedly at the 3 white beast furs. With a slight movement, he immediately arrived before Ming Dong. Afterward, he took the 3 furs from Ming Dong's hands and began to examine them. He was surprised. Ming Dong, Jianqin, and Tai Ta all became stunned with how Tianjian had reacted. Afterward, Jianqin seemed to realize something and a gleam of light flashed through his eyes. He asked, Senior Tianjian, do you recognize these 3 beast furs? Tianjian did not reply immediately. He caressed the beast furs for quite some time before nodding slightly. He looked toward Jianqin in interest and asked, Where did you get these 3 pieces of beast fur, Jianchen? I obtained them from various places years before. Senior Tianjian, do you know the secret that's hidden within them? Jianchen asked. He had already learned some basic information regarding the furs from Mo Tianyun, but it was limited. He knew nothing else other than the fact that there were 18 in total and only a Saint Emperor's soul could fuse them back together. Jianchen had always been extremely curious toward the secret hidden within these beast furs. After a while of thought, Tianjian said, Mercenary City also has a piece of beast fur. An elder accidentally obtained it several 100,000 years ago, and we've kept it all the way until now. The mysterious and powerful energy is hidden within the beast fur, and as it oscillates, no one can sense it. But when it awakens, it can display the mysteries of the world. It's extremely wondrous. However, the beast fur is extremely tough. No one in the world can tear it apart. Even I can't. Many of my predecessors of Mercenary City have tried guessing the secret of the beast furs before. However, they said nothing other than guessing that it came from the winged tiger god of the ancient times. Tianjian rubbed the beast furs gently and mumbled, Mercenary City has 1 piece, the 10 protector clans hold on to 6 pieces, and with the 3 pieces in your possession, there's a total of 10 that has appeared now. I wonder just how many there are in total. Jianchen could not help but feel disappointed after he failed to learn anything substantial from Tianjian. However, he did learn one thing. At least he learned the whereabouts of 7 other pieces. 1 was with Mercenary City and 6 were with the Protector clans. Only the locations of the remaining 8 were unknown. These beast furs can only be fused with the soul of a Saint Emperor. There's no need to hurry. Jianchen thought. He made up his mind. He needed to gather all the pieces somehow in the future. Tianjian passed the beast furs to Mingdong once again and said, It should only be a matter of time before you reach Saint Ruler with these 3 beast furs. It's a pity that the beast fur in Mercenary City's possession is in the divine hall left behind by the city lord. A Saint Emperor Grand Elder left it there all those years ago, so I cannot retrieve it at all. Otherwise, I would have lended it to you long ago so that you could reach Saint Ruler as soon as possible. Then, Tianjian looked toward Jianchen and said, Jianchen, I know you need to leave. Go with your parents. Mingdong and Tai Ta will stay here. Once Mingdong reaches Saint Ruler, he will go looking for you. Tai Ta's identity is relatively special though. His constitution as the war god has already awakened completely, and his special characteristics have become even more obvious. Meanwhile, you'll be coming into contact with the Protector clans very often in the coming period of time, so Tai Ta cannot go with you. Even I won't be able to do anything once he gets recognized by the Protector clans. After all, he's not a member of the human race, and the Protector clans have a vendetta against the previous war god. Jianchen nodded silently. Tianjian was right. Tai Ta's identity was just too special. His strength was still not enough to contend with the Protector clans, so it would be best if he did not interact with the Protector clans. Jianchen would definitely stand with Tai Ta if his identity was exposed. However, once he helped out Tai Ta, the Protector clans that hated him would probably brand him as a traitor. Even the Changyang clan of Lore City would be pulled into the matter and would result in extremely severe consequences. Tai Ta's face immediately darkened after he heard Tianjian's words. He became extremely heavy-hearted. Jianchen patted Tai Ta's chest and said, Tai Ta, just cultivate here at ease. I will come back in the next few days. Tai Ta nodded silently. After bidding farewell to the 2 of them, Jianchen left with Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba, along with Rui Jin and Heiyu. Xiao Ling naturally tried to persuade him to stay before he had left. It took up a great effort before Jianchen managed to convince Xiao Ling. Chapter 993, Yu Yu's feelings. Thanks to the assistance of Rui Jin and Heiyu, Jianchen's journey was extremely easy. Heiyu directly ripped open a space gate, crossing over 1,000,000 kilometers in a mere step. They directly arrived in the space above the Changyang clan in Lore City. Right now, Jianchen was completely certain that Rui Jin and Heiyu only followed him to protect the winged tiger god. He had already grown accustomed to them following him closely everywhere. Jian originally wanted to visit the Tianqin clan in Walorant City to see Qin Shao. However, he gave up on the idea after considering that it was just too inconvenient with his parents as well as Rui Jin and Heiyu. He decided to spend the next period of time dealing with the matters at hand, before proceeding to the Tianqin clan to find Qin Shao. He had no idea how Qin Shao was after they had separated for 10 years. Was he married? Did he have children? What level of strength did he grow to? Jian brought Bai Yuntian and Changyangba back with Rui Jin and Heiyu, which immediately led to a very large uproar in the clan. Very few people in the clan knew that Jian was a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, so many of them felt utterly astounded with Bai Yuntian and Changyangba's resurrection. Changyang Zhu Yunshao and Changyang Zhu Yunkong viewed Changyangba and Bai Yuntian's return with great importance. They set aside their lofty statuses and personally went up to receive them. They were extremely polite and did not display the haughtiness commonly seen between different generations. After all, they had given birth to the pride of the clan, Jian. As Changyangba and Bai Yuntian already had some prior understanding of the clan before they had arrived, they did not panic or become surprised when they saw Changyang Zhu Yunshao, Changyang Zhu Yeyun, or the Changyang clan ancestor. They greeted the three of them as juniors, as they were Changyang Zhu Yunkong's descendants after all. Bai Yuntian and Changyangba were nimble-minded people. When they saw how politely the esteemed Changyang Zhu Yunshao and Changyang Zhu Yeyun treated them, they immediately understood that it was all because of their son. They could not help but feel extremely proud, but in no way did they become arrogant. Later that night, Changyang Zhu Yunshao personally held a banquet to welcome back Changyangba and Bai Yuntian. Even the king of the Jessen kingdom ran over from a very great distance and warmly greeted Changyangba and Bai Yuntian. He made his mind up to establish a tight relationship with the clan, as he was only on friendly terms with Changyangba and Bai Yuntian in the clan other than Jian. The king mentioned the marriage between his daughter and Jian once again to Changyangba and Bai Yuntian during the banquet. He used various excuses in an attempt to make the marriage occur earlier. He was eager for Jian to become his son-in-law. Changyangba and Bai Yuntian naturally agreed with the king's suggestions. They were also eager for Jian to marry Yu, but with Jian's present-day status, they could no longer force him into the marriage. They still needed to ask Jian himself. Jian had just returned to the continent, so he had a lot of matters to attend to. The White Tiger's mother, Rum Guinness, needed to be saved, and the White Tiger also needed to take its revenge. Jian also needed to take revenge for the massacre of the Bai clan, deal with Tai Ta's identity, deal with the threats from the Beast God continent, deal with the Sea Goddess task and so on. These matters would all take a large amount of time to complete, so he could not afford to think about matters of love. As a result, he pushed it back time and time again. He knew that this was very unfair to Yu, but he could do nothing about it. Yu, who sat beside Jian, naturally became extremely happy as soon as she heard her father mention the marriage with Jian. She was filled with anticipation, but she still became extremely disappointed in the end. Xiang, you're not young anymore. It's about time you consider marriage. Yuer has already waited for you for over a decade. Do you still want to keep her waiting? Said Bai Yuntian, as she persuaded him earnestly. She liked Yu very much as a daughter-in-law. Jian also became filled with uneasiness. He said, "Mother, I'll find some time to marry Yuer after I deal with the matters at hand." After these words left his mouth, he could not help but think about Huang Luan, who he was in love with, as well as the heavenly enchantress who he ended up sleeping with since they had no other choice. His emotions immediately became mixed. "Mother-in-law, let's talk about it after Jian deals with his matters. Yuer is busy with the flame mercenaries right now as well, so I'm not in the mood to deal with marriage at this time either," Yu said gently. Her soft voice was as pleasant as a lark's call. Although she said this, Yu's gaze toward Jian still hid a deep bitterness. At the banquet, Changyang Zhu Yunkong formally announced Changyangba as the patriarch once again. Changyangba would be dealing with all the matters of the clan. The position of patriarch was finally passed on officially. The position did not mean anything, but it at least showed Changyang Zhu Yunkong's acceptance and respect for Changyangba. The sun had set completely after the banquet ended. However, the Changyang clan was still completely bright. Groups of guards patrolled the surroundings with their chest held high. They were in fine spirits, constantly looking around sharply like eagles. Jian Chen and Yu Yu walked around in the slightly dark back garden. They walked together slowly and said nothing. Jian Chen was calm and revealed an expression of thought from time to time. He seemed to have a lot that weighed on his mind. Meanwhile, Yu looked toward Jian Chen from time to time. Her eyes were bright and enchanting. In the end, Jian Chen and Yu Yu arrived in the pavilion of the garden. The night breeze was gentle. Jian Chen stood in the pavilion with his arms crossed behind his back, as he looked at the fishes within the lake. His luxurious white robes fluttered gently in the wind. "Jian Chen, is there something on your mind?" said Yu Yu gently, as she looked at Jian Chen brightly. "Yu Yu, I've really let you down. I've made you wait for so long in the past few years, but I really do have a lot of things to attend to right now," Jian Chen said apologetically. He felt riddled with guilt. Yu Yu raised her arm gently and used her thin fingers to cover Jian Chen's mouth. She stopped what Jian Chen wanted to say next and looked toward Jian Chen with tender affection. She said softly, "Jian Chen, don't say any more. I know it has been very hard for you in the past few years. You seem extremely glorious on the surface, but all that glory was exchanged from risking your life. In the past few years, you've worked very hard to increase your strength, almost dying countless times. It has been harder for you than anyone. Those hair-raising situations you've been in exceeds anything we can imagine. Jian Chen, go attend to your matters without worry. I am weak and cannot help you with anything, but I will wait for you silently. I will stand behind you quietly and follow your shadow, and quietly support you from behind." Suddenly, Jian Chen looked at Yu Yu's face when he heard these words. He was deeply moved once again as he looked at her weary face. "Where?" Jian Chen said gently. He opened his arms and hugged Yu Yu tightly. Immediately, a faint fragrance entered his nose. Coupled with Yu Yu's petite body, Jian Chen felt enchanted. A sliver of visible panic appeared in Yu Yu's eyes when Jian Chen suddenly pulled her in, but she calmed down very quickly. A faint red flush immediately dyed her cheeks. She extended her arms to embrace Jian Chen as well and gently placed her head on his chest. She slowly closed her eyes to enjoy this lovely moment in all of its detail. In this moment, Yu Yu felt like she had obtained the world. There was nothing more wonderful than embracing her most beloved person. A while later, Yu Yu said gently, "Jian Chen, I know you won't be able to stay at the clan for very long. Can you tell me when you will be leaving?" After a slight pause, Jian Chen said with difficulty, "Tomorrow." Yu Yu's body shook. She looked toward Jian Chen, unwilling for him to go. "You just returned. Can't you stay for a few days longer?" Jian Chen shook his head slowly and said, "I need to deal with some matters as soon as possible." Yu Yu embraced Jian Chen even more tightly. She said after a period of hesitation, "Jian Chen, I want to be with you. If there's no danger, please bring me with you." Jian Chen hesitated when he heard this. Chapter 994. Rum Guinness. Yu Yu immediately became emotional when she saw Jian Chen accept her small request. She was extremely happy. In the morning of the next day, Jian Chen took Yu Yu with him as he left the Changyang clan with Rui Jin and Heiyu. The wild wind whistled in the sky as it blew past them like a gale at sea. It was terrifyingly loud, almost like thunder. Jian Chen held Yu Yu's thin waist as he flew through the sky, flying in a straight line toward an unknown location. A barrier formed from world force staved off the wind around them. Yu Yu became slightly flushed from Jian Chen's embrace. However, happiness filled her as well. She smiled slightly as she looked at the receding landscape below and Jian Chen's face. "Jian Chen, where are we going next? Will it be dangerous?" Yu Yu's voice was filled with excitement as she looked at Jian Chen brightly. This was the first time she had wandered the Tianyuan continent in her entire life, and it was with her most beloved and most admirable partner. It was impossible for her to be unexcited. Jian Chen flipped his hand, and a white tiger hair suddenly appeared in his palm. This hair was originally left behind by Xiao Bai's mother, Rum Guinness. She left it behind so that they could find her in the future. Jianchen gently brought the hare to the white tiger that lied gently on his shoulder. He said, "Xiao Bai, it'll all be up to you if you can find your mother or not." The white tiger's interest was immediately piqued. Suddenly it stood up. It stared unblinkingly at the white hare in Jianchen's hands with its eyes wide open. Rare, mixed emotions began to pour from its pure eyes. The white tiger could not even open its eyes when it had left its mother. It probably did not even know what she looked like. However, it was impossible for it to mistake his mother's scent, because this was a natural instinct of magical beasts that humans did not possess. Growling, the white tiger produced a throaty growl as if it was crying in anguish. It also seemed to be talking to Jianchen, even though he could not understand it at all. The white tiger appeared to miss its mother after catching a whiff of her scent. The white tiger was currently a Class 7 magical beast, but the time since its birth was just too short. His current mind was even more undeveloped than Xiao Ling from Mercenary City. The white tiger gently raised its furry front paw and opened its mouth slightly. A wind blade shot out and cut its paw. Immediately, a droplet of bright red blood dripped out and fell accurately onto the hair in Jianchen's hand. Only the blood from the white tiger could activate the hair that Rum Guinness left behind. The hair immediately turned completely red after it absorbed the blood. It began to glow with a demonic red light, before it broke free from Jianchen's grasp. It shot off into the distance with lightning speed. Jianchen tightened his arm around Yu and fused with the surrounding space. He used spatial force to travel, turning into a blur as he chased after the tiger hare. In the northern parts of the continent, there was a marsh perpetually covered by a layer of poisonous gas. Countless poisonous bug and feral beasts lived in the marsh, and there were plenty of Class 6 magical beasts. The marsh was in an extremely desolate region, as the poisonous gas there was just too potent. Even Earth Saint Masters were not resistant to it, and most detoxifying pills were ineffective. As a result, it became labeled as a forbidden region to most mercenaries. Only Heaven Saint Masters could survive within it. In the center of the marsh, powerful booms constantly rang out despite the thick, green poisonous gas that clouded the area. It caused the gas to churn constantly as violent ripples of energy radiated outward. More than 10 experts floated in the air at the center. They rained down powerful attacks one after another, striking the marshland below. Their wild attacks formed a huge ditch. It revealed a dull barrier that enveloped an underground cavern. It seemed to shake more and more under the rain of attacks. There were signs of it almost breaking. Put in some effort, everyone. There's not enough energy in the barrier. It'll break very soon. A gray-haired old man in luxurious golden robes floated high up in the sky as he stared coldly toward the shaking barrier. He directed the Heaven Saint Masters to attack the barrier in turns, which constantly ate away at the barrier's energy. The old man was a former patriarch of a large clan nearby. He was also the most powerful person in the group and had reached Saint Ruler already. However, he only belonged to the first heavenly layer. Old Man Ho, are you sure there's a heavily injured Class 7 magical beast hiding behind the barrier? A Class 7 magical beast is on the same level of cultivation as you, and magical beasts are just innately more powerful than us. If we break the barrier, we'll definitely aggravate the magical beast inside. If it isn't as weak as you anticipated, it would be a disaster, a Heaven Saint Master asked out of worry as he attacked the barrier. The old man referred to as Old Man Ho coldly glanced at the Heaven Saint Master. His gaze was like a sharp knife and pierced the Heaven Saint Master's heart. It immediately made him tremble, and fear rose from the bottom of his heart. All those below Saint Ruler were ants. Even though Old Man Ho was only at the first heavenly layer, the Heaven Saint Masters were as weak as ants before him. Don't worry. Ever since I discovered something odd here, I've always kept an eye out. I'm certain that it's an injured Class 7 magical beast hiding in the barrier. It must be healing here, so it can't threaten us at all, Old Man Ho said nonchalantly. He was filled with confidence. He could tell that the magical beast that hid behind the barrier was much stronger than himself. If it were not injured, he definitely would not have come to provoke it. He did not take part in breaking the barrier, as he needed to remain in top condition in order to deal with the magical beast's counterattacks. Class 7 monster cores are like great treasures on the Tianyuan continent. They're invaluable. If I can obtain a Class 7 monster core and absorb all the energy inside it, my strength will be elevated to another level, Old Man Ho thought. A snow-white, 3-meter-long tiger lied weakly on the ground inside the dark cave protected by the barrier. It stared powerlessly at the constantly shaking barrier as despair filled her eyes. She was Xiaobai's mother, Rum Guinness. When the Tiger King from the Gilligan clan initially injured her, she was already at the edge of death and extremely weak. The Tiger King had also deposited his power into her body, and only a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master could cleanse it. It had been sealed up by Jian Chen's power as a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master before. However, this had limited her strength and her recovery speed at the same time. She needed to devote all her strength to suppressing the dark energy, or it would break through the Radiant Saint Force seal. She would be dead for sure at that point. It had consumed a lot of her strength to maintain the seal over the years. She had less than 1/100th of her peak power. As such, once the barrier broke, even Heaven Saint Masters could kill her off, let alone Saint Rulers. As soon as she tried fighting back, the Tiger King's energy would destroy the Radiant Saint Force seal that Jian Chen left behind. Chapter 995, Imminent Danger. My child, it's a pity that I can't see you one last time. I wonder how you are right now. Did following that human make you suffer? Rum Guinness thought inside. Despair had already filled her heart. She knew that the barrier would not last much longer without more support from her. She was dead for sure after it had broken. Although she was a powerful Class 7 magical beast, she was no longer in her peak condition. She did not possess her previous strength. At this moment before death, she missed and worried about her child the most. Outside, the booms from the barrier constantly rang out. The Heaven Saint Masters rained the barrier with attacks under the directions of the Saint Ruler. This made the barrier's power rapidly decrease. Old Man Ho floated in the air. He stared coldly at the barrier below as caution flooded his eyes. He had already charged up his strength, secretly ready to strike out at any moment. He made his preparations so that the Class 7 magical beast hiding in the barrier would be unable to attack him suddenly. Far away, Jian Chen tailed the white tiger hare as he carried Yu Yu. The white tiger stood on his shoulder. He traveled toward the north of the continent, where Rum Guinness had hidden herself. At the side, Rui Jin and He Yu followed him closely. Although they could rip open space gates, they had no idea of the precise locations as there was only the tiger hare as a guide. As a result, all they could do was follow the tiger hare. However, they were still extremely fast even though they were flying. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. Jian Chen's group had crossed through countless kingdoms of various sizes as well as many mountain ranges. They flew constantly and approached the north after they traveled for tens of millions of kilometers. At the same time, the Heaven Saint Masters finally broke through Rum Guinness barrier. The barrier had repelled their attacks for over 10 days, and this consumed all its energy. It revealed the dark entrance to the cavern. The Heaven Saint Masters immediately retreated after the barrier broke. Old Ho entered the cavern carefully alone. He saw the powerless Rum Guinness on the floor at first glance. Rum Guinness' eyes were filled with weakness and were dull. She glanced at Old Ho, before she slowly closed her eyes. She had already accepted death now, as she did not have the power to flee in her current condition. Even if she made a final, full-powered retaliation regardless of the consequences, she would not be able to injure a Saint Ruler in peak condition. Old Ho stood cautiously as he stared fixedly at Rum Guinness for a while. Only after he confirmed that the Class 7 magical beast was actually heavily injured did he relax slightly. However, he was still unwilling to be careless. With a wave of his hand, he gathered a powerful energy, shooting it toward Rum Guinness with lightning speed. Boom! Rum Guinness was sent flying without any resistance. She collided against the cavern wall behind her heavily before she fell to the ground. A few mouthfuls of blood immediately spurted from her mouth. A terrifying injury had formed on her body as blood flowed from it. It dyed her snow-white fur red. Rum Guinness' eyes darkened once more. She became even weaker. Old Ho could not help but laugh aloud when he saw this. He said, "Looks like my worry was unneeded. Your injuries are far worse than I had imagined. Looks like I'll be able to obtain a Class 7 monster core and a magical beast corpse with ease today." As he spoke, energy began to gather in Old Ho's hands once more. He struck toward Rum Guinness again. He was unwilling to approach Rum Guinness at all out of caution, afraid that she was faking it all. The white tiger that stood silently on Jian Chen's shoulders suddenly trembled when Rum Guinness was injured. Two streaks of light immediately shone from its eyes, and the vast presence of a Class 7 magical beast began to radiate from its tiny body. The presence contained a burning fury. The white tiger roared loudly at the sky. It was not like its earlier growl, but a true tiger's roar. It was deafening and basically spread through the entire sky. Afterward, the white tiger leaped off Jian Chen's shoulder. Its curled-up wings suddenly unfurled and began to flap. The white tiger turned into a white streak as it shot off with unbelievable speed. It disappeared in an instant, almost like teleportation. It was moving as fast as it could. The white tiger's sudden actions caused Jian Chen and the others to become stunned. However, Jian Chen realized something very quickly and his face sank. He hoarsely said, "Xiao Bai's mother is likely to be in danger right now. Let's hurry." "Jian Chen, your comprehension of the mysteries of the world is just far too limited. Let me take you," Heiyu said. With a wave of his arm, an invisible force instantly surrounded Jian Chen and Yu. Afterward, it did not hold back at all, fusing them with the surrounding space even more. Through the use of spatial force, they turned into a blur with Rui Jin and Heiyu. They passed the tiger hair instantly as they chased after the white tiger. Rum Guinness had taken several heavy attacks in the marshland. She lay on the ground on her last legs, as blood had dyed her completely red. The blood on the ground had already formed a pool, while her eyes were dark. She seemed to almost close her eyes. Old Ho smiled ruthlessly. He no longer had any fear now, and a curved blade appeared in his hand. He planned on giving Rum Guinness a final strike to completely end her life. At this moment, a great roar boomed from afar. The sound began near the horizon and rapidly grew louder and arrived nearby in an instant. The roar possessed a great pressure like the angry roar of a lord. All the magical beasts living in the poisonous marshland were frightened, collapsing onto the ground as they trembled. Even the Heaven Saint Masters and Old Ho were frightened by the roar. However, the effect was not as heavy as they were humans. That's a Class 7 magical beast. Another Class 7 magical beast has actually come. Old Ho's expression changed drastically, becoming extremely ugly. Chapter 996, Hanging by a Thread. Old Man Ho stood in the cavern dumbstruck. He was no longer as complacent as he seemed before, and deep fear completely enveloped him. As a saint ruler, Old Man Ho was extremely knowledgeable. He knew quite a lot regarding Class 7 magical beasts. They were naturally more powerful than humans of the same cultivation level. The chances of a human's victory were pitiful if they fought a magical beast with a similar cultivation level. He was a saint ruler, but he did not possess any powerful battle skills. All he could do was probably flee if he came across a Class 7 magical beast, and he could tell from the roar that the magical beast hurrying over was far stronger than him. This made it even more difficult for him to deal with the current situation. How is this possible? How can another Class 7 magical beast appear here? Old Man Ho murmured with a trembling voice. Without any hesitation, he no longer bothered to kill Rum Guinness in the cavern. Instead, he turned into a blur and fled at his greatest speed. At the same time, the stunned Heaven Saint Masters outside returned to their senses. They immediately began to flee as fast as they could without anyone's orders. They could tell from the great roars that the Class 7 magical beast was in top condition, unlike the heavily injured one in the cave. Even the esteemed Old Man Ho was not the opponent of a peak condition Class 7 magical beast. The Heaven Saint Masters fled into the distance at virtually the same time as Old Man Ho. Old Man Ho fused with the surrounding space and hurried along with his abilities as a saint ruler, so he was extremely fast. Meanwhile, the Heaven Saint Masters could only fly slowly. In the blink of an eye, Old Man Ho was about to disappear into the horizon, but a white figure rushed over from behind with a speed countless times faster than Old Man Ho. It crossed through several dozen kilometers in the blink of an eye and blocked Old Man Ho. To no surprise, it was a huge, 30-meter-long white tiger with wings on its back. The white tiger floated impressively in the air as it blocked Old Man Ho's path. Its eyes no longer shone with a pure light. Instead, a vicious light glowed in its eyes. It seemed like a bloodthirsty beast. The white tiger's incomparable speed immediately caused Old Man Ho to pale from fright. The strength of the Class 7 magical beast before him was beyond his imaginations. The white tiger roared at the sky angrily and did not give Old Man Ho any more time to flee. It swung its front paw directly toward Old Man Ho's neck. As soon as Old Man Ho wanted to dodge, he discovered with fright that the space around him had been frozen unknowingly. It immobilized him. SHWT. The white tiger's sharp claws ripped the hopeless old man's throat in half. The white tiger had beheaded him, and his body fell while his head remained in the sky. The white tiger growled constantly. It opened its mouth, and an energy ball that radiated with powerful ripples shot out. The ball directly collided with Old Man Ho's head. The old man's head immediately exploded with a boom. The tiger had directly wiped out his soul. Saint rulers were rather difficult to kill, but that was only the case when the opponent had a similar strength. Ordinary saint rulers could not even flee before the winged tiger god. The white tiger's fury did not decrease at all after it killed off the old man. He continued to chase down the remaining Heaven Saint Masters with surging killing intent. Even though they had all used a very smart tactic and dispersed, they were nowhere as fast as the winged tiger god. The white tiger caught them one by one. With a flurry of its paws, the white tiger ripped the Heaven Saint Masters into pieces. Their blood dyed the sky red. Although the white tiger was young, it had experienced quite a few events as it followed Jianqin in all these years. It rarely ever fought, but bloody scenes like these were common to it. As a result, it was not soft-hearted at all when it came to killing people. The white tiger still seemed to be angry after it killed the Heaven Saint Masters. It produced a deafening roar at the sky once again, which frightened all the magical beasts in the marsh. All of them were on the ground. They trembled as fear filled their eyes. Rum Guinness lay in her own blood within the cave as she faced death. She opened her darkened eyes with difficulty. Even though she was weak, this did not hide the excitement and emotions within her eyes. As a magical beast, and a high-class magical beast in particular, Rum Guinness could naturally feel a special connection with her kindred. She knew that her child that she had not seen for many years had returned since the first roar. My child, my child, my child has come back," Rum Guinness said in the human tongue. Her voice was so soft and weak that it was barely audible, but indescribable emotions filled it. Blood constantly flowed from her mouth as she spoke, which made her seem extremely miserable. The white tiger outside the cave constantly shrank before it became a meter in length as it entered the cavern step by step. Its pair of snow-white wings were slightly unfurled as they flickered with a soft white light. It seemed extremely impressive. Growl. The white tiger produced a throaty, trembling growl in anguish when it saw Rum Guinness, who lied in a pool of her own blood. The white tiger seemed to be crying, as it could clearly feel that its mother's presence was becoming weaker and weaker. Her life force drained away constantly. Rum Guinness was heavily injured now, so she no longer had any power to keep up the seal within her body. The dark energy broke through as it constantly ravaged her body. "Child, my child, I thought that I would never be able to see you again. Now that I can see you right before I die, I can die without regrets," Rum Guinness said in the human tongue. Her voice was so weak and soft that it was barely audible. She struggled to open her eyes, and she looked at the impressive white tiger before her with deep love. Pride filled her eyes. At this moment, Jian Chen, Yu Yu, Rui Jin, and He Yu also arrived. Jian Chen's expression immediately changed when he saw Rum Guinness' condition. He appeared before her in the blink of an eye. A golden streak of light shot out from the center of his eyebrows and landed in his hand as a palm-sized golden tower. "Human, I haven't misjudged you. I can feel that my child has grown to class 7. I thank you for looking after my child for all these years." Rum Guinness looked toward Jian Chen with gratitude. "Don't talk for now. I'll save you immediately," said Jian Chen. "The seal within me has broken. The dark energy a king from the Gilligan clan deposited in my body is currently invading my soul, so my soul will be wiped out very soon." "It's too late," Rum Guinness said disjointedly. "I'll protect your soul with a strand of radiant Saint Force origin energy. Don't worry, you'll be saved." With a thought from Jian Chen, a strand of origin energy emerged from the top of his head and quickly floated to the tip of his finger. He extended his finger and the strand of energy immediately disappeared into Rum Guinness. It prevented the dark energy within her from tunneling deeper. Afterward, Jian Chen immediately contacted the artifact spirit to bring Rum Guinness into the artifact space without any hesitation. Right now, Rum Guinness was in an extremely dangerous situation. He could heal her with his abilities as a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, but the artifact spirit's abilities were even greater. He chose to let the artifact spirit heal her personally as a safety measure. The white tiger nervously stared at the saint artifact that floated in the air. It produced a deep growl as if it was pleading the artifact to save his mother. Jian Chen rubbed the white tiger's head and said, "Xiao Bai, don't worry. It's not like you don't know what the artifact spirit is capable of. Don't worry, he'll definitely save your mother. Your mother will be fine. Let's go. We should enter the artifact space as well." Afterward, Jian Chen entered the artifact space with Yu Yu and the white tiger. Only Rui Jin and He Yu remained outside as they kept guard. Chapter 997. Recovery. Rum Guinness lied on the floor in the very center of the huge hall within the artifact space. She was at the edge of death, and her breathing was extremely weak. In the form of a middle-aged man, the white-robed artifact spirit had already received Jian Chen's orders. It appeared out of nowhere beside her and extended a finger. Then, a strand of extremely pure radiant Saint Force origin energy entered Rum Guinness' body. Immediately, a thick layer of white light enveloped her entire body. It was impossible to tell what was happening inside. Jian Chen, Yu Yu, and the white tiger appeared out in the hall. Jian Chen and the white tiger stared unblinkingly at Rum Guinness, who was covered by the white light. At the same time, Yu Yu constantly looked around in curiosity, as this was the first time she had come to this place. She observed everything present. Rum Guinness' body was in an extremely horrible condition. The dark energy left behind by the king from the Gilligan clan ravaged her body constantly, and it slowly extended toward her soul. If Jian Chen had not arrived in time and used a stand of origin energy to guard Rum Guinness' soul, she would have faced grim possibilities. It would make it very difficult to say that she could survive. Although Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters could revive the dead, that only applied when the soul still existed. If the soul was killed off as well, even the one and only Class 8 Radiant Saint Master from the ancient times would have been unable to revive them, let alone Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. The hall fell into an awkward silence. Jian Chen and the White Tiger stared unblinkingly at Rum Guinness and made no sounds at all. After she looked around a few times out of curiosity, Yu gradually lost interest as well. She also focused her gaze on Rum Guinness and thought, "Is that Xiao Bai's mother? She can speak human tongue. It also looks like she's at least a Class 7 magical beast." The origin energy under the artifact spirit's control was much more powerful and pure than Jian Chen's. Rum Guinness' condition took a good turn very quickly under the personal treatment of the artifact spirit. Her body, originally riddled with injuries, slowly began to return to its previous condition. Even the dark energy within her was completely purged. For hours later, the white light around Rum Guinness finally disappeared. Her fur was no longer bloody. Instead, she now had a layer of beautiful, snow-white fur. Her dull, weak eyes also shone with spirit once again and became bright once more. The artifact spirit's origin energy was far beyond anything that Jian Chen could match up to. Not only did it completely heal a Class 7 magical beast at the edge of death in such a short time, it had even recovered her soul to its peak condition. Rum Guinness slowly rose up from the ground. Although her injuries had been completely healed, her energy had not been replenished at all. As a result, she was still drained and very weak, which made it rather difficult even when she just tried to stand up. Rum Guinness' body changed, and she turned into her human form very quickly. She became an extremely sturdy middle-aged woman. "I thank you for saving my life. Not only would I have failed to see my child ever again if you hadn't made it on time, I would not even be able to survive any longer. The kindness you have shown the two of us is so great that I cannot return it even with my life." Rum Guinness thanked Jian Chen. Jian Chen smiled calmly and replied, "Senior, you don't need to be so polite. I sure have made you suffer though, making you wait so long before I could heal your injuries completely." Jian Chen looked at the White Tiger when he reached this point, before he continued, "Senior, you have not seen your son in so many years. You must have a lot to say, so I won't disturb you any longer. The two of you should catch up properly." With that, Jian Chen and Yu directly left the hall. They gave the two of them plenty of space. After Jian Chen and Yu had left, Rum Guinness looked at the impressive White Tiger. She could naturally tell at first glance that her son was a Class 7 magical beast already. When the White Tiger had first left her side, it was still a cub that could not even open its eyes. Now, it had become a powerful Class 7 magical beast. Its growth speed was so great that even Rum Guinness felt extremely shocked. She also felt great excitement and happiness. Jian Chen and Yu walked beside each other and arrived on a nearby slope. Jian Chen looked into the distance. Then he sighed deeply. Jian Chen had finally completed a task that had burdened his mind for many years. Rum Guinness was finally healed, and Xiao Bai had reunited with her. Yu stood silently beside him. She hugged Jian Chen's arm as the light in her eyes flickered. She constantly observed the weird world inside the Saint artifact. It was clearly different in some aspects compared to the world outside. "Jian Chen, where is this place?" Yu asked. Her voice was as pleasant as a lark's call. "This is the space within the Saint artifact." Jian Chen explained the matter of the artifact space to Yu. It immediately allowed her to come to an understanding and widened her horizons. She was amazed. At this moment, a powerful ripple of energy surged through the entire artifact space from the hall. All the Class 7 magical beasts sensed this and looked toward the palace in suspicion immediately. Jian Chen also looked toward the direction where the energy ripples came from. He could feel a vague pressure of the world hidden within. Only the use of heaven or saint tier battle skills would cause this phenomenon. It's newbies. Looks like he's already achieved some success with his research of the saint tier battle skill, murmured Jianchen. However, he also knew just how profound saint tier battle skills were. They could not be learned so easily. Not to mention that newbies was changing the battle skill to suit himself, which made it even more difficult. Although he had achieved some success, there would still be quite some time before he completely succeeded. Not long afterward, a white figure shot over. It was the white tiger, pulling his mother to Jianchen's side. As soon as they arrived before Jianchen, Guinness knelt down toward Jianchen and bowed her head. Savior, thank you for protecting my child. I have already learned what the Savior has experienced from my child. Not only did the Savior face the pursuit of the king from the Gilligan clan to protect my child, the 10 protector clans even forced you to leave the continent. Savior's kindness is so great that I, Guinness, will use my life to return to the favor. I am willing to work like a slave for Savior. Senior, please get up. Jianchen quickly helped Guinness off her knees. Although he was stronger than her now, Jianchen still felt some respect toward Guinness, which was why he still referred to her as Senior. Guinness was a great mother. Just that was enough for Jianchen to respect her. Afterward, Jianchen said a few polite words to Guinness before getting her to recuperate properly. She would leave after she had completely recovered. Growl. The white tiger produced a deep growl as he looked at Guinness. Hatred filled his eyes. Guinness rubbed the white tiger's head and said, "Child, of course, you need to take revenge for your father, but the king of the Gilligan clan is powerful. He's a Class 8 magical beast, and we are not his opponent with our current strength. Child, once you become a Class 8 magical beast, we'll kill our way into the Gilligan clan together and avenge your father." Guinness' voice also became filled with hatred as she reached the end of these words. Years ago, her husband had died at the hands of the king from the Gilligan clan to protect her and her child. His soul had been wiped out. Jianchen's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He said with a deep voice, "Senior, the Tiger King from the Gilligan clan almost killed me years ago. I have an absolutely irreconcilable enmity with him. Once you recover, we'll kill our way into the Gilligan clan together." Chapter 998. Calling on a helper. Guinness glanced at Jianchen with suspicion, as if she wanted to see through Jianchen's strength. However, she could not see through him with her level of cultivation, so Jianchen seemed like an ordinary person before her. "The two of us are extremely grateful that the Savior could help us, but the king of the Gilligan clan is just too powerful. Also, he has the support of many Class 7 magical beast elders. We will definitely not risk things so easily until we are sure that we can achieve victory," said Guinness. Although she had learned many of the things Jianchen had gone through throughout the years from the White Tiger, she was still unsure of Jianchen's exact strength. However, Guinness could guess. When she first saw Jianchen, he was still an Earth Saint Master. He was unworthy of any importance in her eyes. To her, it was impossible for him to surpass her in this time no matter how great his talent was. Guinness credited it all to some protective treasure on Jianchen as to why she could not perceive his strength. After all, the saint artifact was a very good example of a protective treasure. Jianchen could not help but smile when he saw Guinness's lack of confidence. "Senior is over-worrying. The king of the Gilligan clan may be a Class 8 magical beast, something equal to human Saint Kings, but he can still be considered as a weaker Saint King. I naturally have my methods of dealing with him. He cannot threaten us." "Really? Do you really have the power to defeat the Gilligan clan?" Guinness said in surprise. She became delighted. Jianchen nodded and said, "Senior, recuperate your strength first. Once you're in peak condition again, we'll head to the Cross Mountains immediately and kill our way into the Gilligan clan. We'll take revenge for your husband and Xiaobai's father." Afterward, Guinness returned to the hall to recuperate. Jianchen did not disturb newbies who was comprehending the battle skill, so he strolled around the artifact space at leisure with Yu. The artifact space had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. After such a long time, the place had become filled with countless magical beasts. Many Class 7 ones still remained even though all the Class 8 ones had left. The Class 7 magical beasts were born in the artifact space and also died inside there. They knew that there was a world outside the artifact space, but they could not leave at all to their dismay. They were essentially trapped in the artifact space, unless they reached Class 9 and became an existence on par with Saint Emperors. Otherwise, they would never be able to see the outside world. There are quite a lot of Class 7 magical beasts inside the Saint artifact. If I use them correctly, they can be an extremely powerful force, Jianchen thought. He began to think of using the Class 7 magical beasts, but he dismissed it temporarily after some careful consideration. If he let out all those Class 7 magical beasts, the first people to stop him would probably be the 10 Protector clans. He knew very well that the Protector clans would definitely let so many Class 7 magical beasts appear on the Tianyuan continent, much less give him control over so many and let the Protector Changyang clan's power increase. He no longer feared the 10 Protector clans, but this was all because Rui Jin and He Yu were supporting him. If the two of them were not present, it would be very hard to contend with the other Protector clans with just the Changyang clan and themselves. I'll subdue those Class 7 magical beasts after I become powerful enough to take the Protector clan's head on. There'll be a day where they'll become useful to me, thought Jianchen. He became extremely determined. He was unwilling to waste the huge force inside the artifact space. He just could not use it right now. The artifact space also contained many heavenly resources. Jianchen was able to conduct a harvest properly over the next few days and collected a large amount of heavenly resources. He planned on bringing them to an alchemist and refining them into pills in the future. This would allow the flame mercenaries to grow stronger and simultaneously raise the people who were loyal to him. He had poured all the heavenly resources he had obtained from Tianjian before into the white tiger with not a single one remaining. Other than the aged dragon's saliva he had kept before, he possessed no other heavenly resources. Jianchen met the Class 7 Crow King once again during these few days. Jianchen had once killed many of the Crow King's descendants when he competed within the artifact space as a Radiant Saint Master. This made it hold quite the grudge against him. If it were not for the fact that all the Class 7 magical beasts and above were trapped by the artifact spirit before, he probably would have been ripped into pieces long ago by the Crow King. However, it was different from before now. When Jianchen met the Class 7 magical beast once again, it did not dare to show any dissatisfaction toward Jianchen at all. Instead, it bowed politely to him, while Jianchen did not make any trouble for it either. After all, it was possible for the Crow King to become a general under him in the future. Several days later, Rum Guinness' strength fully recovered. She was back at her peak. Then she left with Jianchen. Jianchen brought Yu, the white tiger, and Rum Guinness out of the artifact space and returned to the cavern. He noticed Rui Jin and He Yu meditating nearby as soon as he emerged. The two of them had always been guarding the area for the past few days. Rui Jin and He Yu opened their eyes slowly and stood up at the same time. They looked at Rum Guinness nonchalantly as a sliver of interest flickered through the depths of their eyes. Although Rum Guinness' strength was insignificant before the two, her status as the winged tiger god's mother was enough to deserve special respect. Senior, now that we've found Xiaobai's mother, let's go take revenge at the Cross Mountains. Please help me pave a convenient path there, Jianchen said to the two of them. Rui Jin spoke up after some thought. In the few days we spent in Mercenary City, we gained a rough understanding of the current situation on the Tianyuan continent. The Cross Mountains possesses a force from the Beast God continent, so if you provoke them so openly, it's extremely likely that the Beast God continent will react violently. We're also almost the enemies of both the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent simultaneously now, while the Beast God continent has 3 Class 9 magical beasts. 2 of them have always been trying to get their hands on the winged tiger god, while the other is not trustworthy even though it has stood on the side of the winged tiger god. There is also the human Saint Emperor from the Tianyuan continent. Although his soul attacks cannot do anything to He Yu and me, his target is the winged tiger god as well. If he works together with the Class 9 magical beasts of the Beast God continent, it'll be very hard for us to deal with them with just He Yu and me. As such, we want to increase our power. Senior Rui Jin, do you want to gather the other Class 8 magical beasts that left the artifact space with you? Jian felt pleasantly surprised. I'm not talking about them. They can't deal with Class 9 magical beasts even if they gather together. I was talking about that scorching divine phoenix of the divine phoenix clan, said Ruijin. Then he turned to Heiyu and said, Heiyu, go with Jian to the Cross Mountains. I'll go find Hong Lian. If there's anything you can't deal with, contact me through the secret technique. Heiyu nodded silently. Ruijin meant it when he said he was going. He immediately ripped open a space gate and left. Heiyu did not tarry either, also ripping open a space gate to the Cross Mountains and leaving with Jian and the others. Jian passed through the space gate with Yu, and they traversed several million kilometers in an instant. Soon, they arrived at the edge of the Cross Mountains. Afterward, they all flew toward the depths of the mountain range. The higher-ranked members of the 9 other protector clans were all gathered together right now, excluding the protector Changyang clan. Other than the nonchalant expressions of the people from the Pure Heart Pavilion, everyone else had their brows furrowed and were stern. This was not the first meeting they had held in the past few years. However, the intent was the same for all of them whenever they held one. If it were not about the Winged Tiger God, it would be about Jian and the Changyang clan. Jian had returned with the advantage of a divine hall, and even Saint Kings at great perfection could not harm him at all. They all felt extremely threatened by him as the Winged Tiger God followed him as well, along with his connection to the Changyang clan. They felt even more uneasy now that Jian had the 2 supreme experts, Ruijin and Heiyu, beside him. Although the protector clans were the ultimate force that protected the continent, a balance formed between them at the same time. They restrained each other, so even if a certain clan became powerful, they were unable to surpass a certain level. However, the current Changyang clan had already surpassed what they could allow or endure. If the Changyang clan obtained the help of Ruijin and Heiyu, they could not be suppressed even if all 9 other clans worked together. They had a lot of hidden power, but this could only be used against invading foreigners or when they came across existences that they could not repel. Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor Lankiros gathered on the 98th floor of the Beast God Hall in the center of the continent. They were both sunken-faced. Sangqiong actually hindered me in the most crucial moment. If he had done something on that day, the Winged Tiger God would have fallen into our hands long ago. Kaiser clenched his fist tightly. He was extremely angry. Chapter 999. Returning mightily. Lankiros's face was also ugly, as he stood with his chest bare opposite of Kaiser. The light in his eyes flickered, and he said coldly, Sangqiong treats the Winged Tiger God in a completely different manner to us. If he's present, he'll ruin our plans sooner or later. His existence is a great latent danger. Kaiser's eyes also flickered. He growled after a while, if it were possible, I really would like to eliminate Sangqiong. However, he's one of the 3 rulers of the continent. If he falls, our continent's power will be greatly affected as well. Also, how difficult is it to kill a Class 9 magical beast? Not to mention, Sangqiong is part of the Peng clan. Their speed is the greatest in the world, so he can move around as he wishes. If he wants to flee, neither of us can stop him. Then what do we do now? Do we just watch the Winged Tiger God grow rapidly in the hands of that human youngster? Lankiros furrowed his brows. He was extremely stern. The Winged Tiger God is growing much faster than we expected in the hands of that human youngster. I never thought it would reach Class 7 so quickly. If it has some more time, it probably won't take long before the Winged Tiger God grows to a level that we can't deal with. At that time, it'll become our calamity. We did try to harm it before after all, and its father's death is connected to me in a way I cannot hide. Kaiser also furrowed his brows tightly when he heard that. He was confident in his own strength and feared no one. Origin energy had also ceased in the world, so breaking through was much more difficult than before, which made it impossible to surpass Saint Emperor. As a result, it was almost impossible that the Winged Tiger God could grow to a point where it could threaten him. However, the Winged Tiger God's fame was just too great. It was the irrefutable beast god since the ancient times, and its scariness and talent were indescribable. Beasts of antiquity could not compare with it, which was why Kaiser felt a little worried as well. Kaiser stood silently for a very long time in the center of the 98th floor in thought. His eyes flickered, as he appeared hesitant. A while later he seemed to finally make up his mind. His eyes suddenly stopped wavering and he growled, "We can't drag out the matter of the winged tiger god any further. The human Saint Emperor just happens to want the winged tiger god as well. We have similar intentions to him, so maybe we can work together." Lankiros hesitated. Will he agree? He wants to benefit from the winged tiger god, which will be impossible for him unless he works with us. After all, that human youngster has the protection from two experts that I can't deal with, Kaiser growled. All right then. We'll go discuss it with the Path Lord of Carnal Desires later, Lankiros said helplessly. Afterward, Kaiser and Lankiros left the Beast God Hall together. They ripped open a space gate and proceeded to the Tianyuan continent. With their strength as Saint Emperors, the Protector clans could not discover them when they went to the Tianyuan continent as long as they did not create too great of a disturbance. As a result, the agreement of no trespassing between the Beast God continent and the Tianyuan continent was purely ornamental to two of them, existing but without any real function. A ruddy old man silently appeared outside the 97th floor of the Beast God Hall after Kaiser and Lankiros had departed. He looked deeply in the direction that they traveled off to, as his expression changed constantly. He was one of the three rulers of the Beast God continent, the Prang Emperor Tsangqiong. Tsangqiong floated in the air as he stared off in the direction of the Tianyuan continent for a very long time. In the end, he sighed gently and shook his head, before returning to the Beast God Hall. He murmured gently, "The winged tiger god has the protection of the Dragon King, the divine golden dragon. It shouldn't face any dangers." But where did they get their origin energy armor and weapons from? I wonder about the sacred dragon's sword and sacred dragon's armor in the hands of the golden divine dragon in particular. They are holy items of the Dragon Clan that vanished with the disappearance of the Dragon Clan and the Divine Phoenix Clan all those years ago. Why would it suddenly appear in his hands? And according to my understanding from the records about the Dragon Clan, the two items don't possess origin energy at all. A majestic palace stood in the depths of the Cross Mountains. Class 6 magical beasts would constantly move around in its surroundings, entering and exiting from time to time. There was a plentiful number of them. The rare Class 6 magical beasts on the continent could be seen everywhere here, because this was where all the high-class magical beasts gathered. There were even quite a number of the Class 7 magical beasts, existences that were otherwise almost extinct on the rest of the continent. This was where all the power of Cross Mountains gathered, the Gilligan clan. A burly, middle-aged and bare-chested man meditated in a room within the Gilligan clan as he cultivated. Powerful ripples of energy permeated his surroundings, which caused the space in the room to constantly tremble. He was the Tiger King of the two kings of the Gilligan clan that had almost killed Jianshan back when he left the Cross Mountains. The terrifying energy slowly settled down and a while later, he opened his eyes gradually. A sliver of weakness was hidden deep within his eyes. I wonder when I can finally recover my strength at the second heavenly layer, the Tiger King murmured to himself. When he went to deal with Jianshan all those years ago, a great expert of the human race injured him in the crucial moment, which forced him to resort to a self-cannibalizing secret technique to flee. He was extremely injured, while his strength at the second heavenly layer had also fallen to the first. This made it extremely difficult to heal, where even after so much time, he still had yet to make a full recovery. The Tiger King stood up from the icy cold floor. He paced around the room with his brows furrowed. He seemed rather stern. I suddenly felt uneasy a few days ago, as if something big is going to happen, something extremely bad for me. Just what is going to happen? He murmured to himself. His eyes flickered as he revealed an expression of thought. He recollected everything that had happened in the past few years several times. Suddenly, his eyes froze and he mumbled, "Is it because of the winged tiger god?" Impossible. The winged tiger god is still young and weak. It's already extremely fortunate to be able to survive from the threat of the 10 protector clans, so why would it make me feel uneasy? The Tiger King had always remained in seclusion to recover in the recent years, and had basically cut himself off from the outside world. His understanding of what had happened on the continent was rather limited. He knew that the 10 protector clans had basically scoured the continent for the winged tiger god, but he had no idea that Jian Chen had already returned forcefully with the winged tiger god. The barrier around the room suddenly disappeared. The door of the room opened, and the Tiger King disappeared. At the same time, a group of unwelcomed guests had arrived in the depths of the Cross Mountains that was known to be forbidden to humans. Jian Chen entered the depths of the Cross Mountains with Yu Yu, Hei Yu, Rum Guinness, and the White Tiger brazenly. They flew toward the Gilligan clan in a threatening manner. They flew extremely quickly, shooting across the sky like comets. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. There were quite a few Class 7 magical beasts in the depths of the mountain range, so their threatening manner of arrival naturally alarmed many of them. Powerful presences immediately appeared in many areas, and 6 Class 7 magical beasts in human form shot toward Jian Chen's group from afar with lightning speed. They blocked the path of Jian Chen's group. A magical beast glanced across the 5 of them sharply and growled, "There are humans among you. Don't you know it's forbidden for humans to enter the Cross Mountains? All those who trespass the depths of the mountain range are to be killed without mercy." When he reached this point, he suddenly paused. He stared at Rum Guinness with shining eyes and cried out of surprise, "Rum Guinness, how is it you?" The other magical beasts all looked toward Rum Guinness as well. Their expressions changed and became extremely mixed. There was animosity as well as regret. Rum Guinness slowly made her way to the front. She looked at the Class 7 magical beasts with some emotions and said bitterly, "Elders, long time no see. I hope you are still well." The magical beasts all looked at each other. Then someone stepped forward. He pointed toward her and started to curse. "Rum Guinness, the River King said that your couple was working with humans, wanting to do horrible things to the Gilligan clan. We didn't really believe it at first, but by the looks of things, he was right. You really are working with humans." "Working with humans," muttered Rum Guinness. Afterward, she smiled sadly and said, "It's fine if the Tiger King tried to kill us. I never thought he'd incriminate us with such a great crime as well. Rum Guinness, since you've become a traitor of the Gilligan clan, you're our enemy. Elders, let's do it. Kill the traitor." Powerful ripples of energy immediately began to permeate from the Class 7 magical beasts as soon as they finished these words. They were about to attack. Although they could not see through Jian Chen and Hei Yu's strength, the Cross Mountains were their territory, so they feared nothing. Jian Chen's eyes grew cold. Just as he was about to draw his emperor armament, an earth-shaking tiger roar suddenly rang out from behind. It was extremely loud and echoed through the surroundings. It almost rang through the entire mountain range. The tiger roar possessed a great pressure, like the descent of a supreme lord. It was enough to make all bow down. This was the pressure of the winged tiger god. It possessed an ability to suppress magical beasts on a spirit level, so with the white tiger's roar, the entire mountain range became silent. All the Class 6 magical beasts and those below collapsed on the ground as fear filled their eyes. Even the Class 7 magical beasts they faced up against were stunned. They all forgot to attack and stared at the white tiger by Rum Guinness' side in shock. A white-robed, middle-aged man suddenly snapped open his eyes as he cultivated inside the Gilligan clan. He leaped up from the ground and stared off into the distance in shock. He cried out, "The winged tiger god!" At the same time, the Tiger King also trembled violently when he heard the great roar right after he had left his room. Disbelief flooded his eyes and he called out involuntarily, "The winged tiger god." It's the call of the winged tiger god. It has actually come to the Cross Mountains. Chapter 1000. Revelation. The white tiger's angry roar shocked the entire mountain range. Its effects were undoubtedly earth-shaking. Not only did the expressions of all the Class 7 magical beasts inside the Gilligan clan change drastically, even the 2 kings were shocked. The Class 7 magical beasts that wanted to deal with Rum Guinness all changed drastically in expression. They stared at the awe-inspiring white tiger that had its wings unfolded in midair as shock and disbelief flooded their eyes. Is this the winged tiger god?" A human form Class 7 magical beast elder growled. The pressure from the white tiger caused his soul to tremble, and the two wings on its back had basically allowed them to realize the white tiger's identity in that instant. They were all magical beasts after all, and high-ranking Class 7 magical beasts as a matter of fact. A human would probably not recognize the white tiger at first glance, but its identity was no secret if it appeared before any Class 7 magical beast, unless the white tiger had erased its presence. How is this possible? Just how is this possible? The great beast god has actually appeared once more, a Class 7 magical beast cried out. A pair of wings on its back and able to make my soul shudder. It can't be wrong. It can't be wrong. It is indeed a winged tiger god that has only appeared in the ancient times. Our great beast god has actually appeared once again. The Class 7 magical beasts all cried out emotionally. The winged tiger god's supreme status was irreplaceable among magical beasts, to the point where even the three supreme experts of the beast god continent came nowhere close to replacing it. This was because it was the indisputable god of the beast god continent, and the god in the eyes of all magical beasts. Even after countless years, its prestige had not suffered at all. As a result, the Class 7 magical beasts became emotional and excited after they confirmed the white tiger's identity. They had ceased to be threatening like before long ago. We greet the great beast god. The magical beasts all knelt down to greet the white tiger. Their voices were filled with respect. Elders, please rise. The speaker was Rum Guinness, who stood behind the white tiger. However, the elders ignored her. One of them glared at Rum Guinness angrily and called out furiously, "Do you still have any rights to talk to us as a traitor of the magical beasts, Rum Guinness? Our god is right here. Just wait until you face the stern judgment of the beast god." Anguish filled Rum Guinness' eyes. She slowly walked up to the white tiger's side and gently rubbed its head, placating the white tiger's anger. The white tiger did not resist. Its great presence slowly subsided, and it closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts all watched the scene unfolded in a dumbstruck fashion as they knelt in the air. They all became filled with shock and disbelief. With its pride and status as a beast god, how could the winged tiger god let anyone touch it like that? Yet, not only did it fail to show any signs of resistance, it even closed its eyes comfortably. The magical beasts on their knees directly began to doubt their eyes when they saw this. Rum Guinness actually has such a close relationship with the winged tiger god. Is this good or bad? How are we going to deal with Rum Guinness' betrayal this way? Similar worries appeared in the minds of the elders. Elders, do you really believe that I, Rum Guinness, has betrayed the magical beasts? Have you never doubted the truthfulness of the Tiger King's words? Rum Guinness said painfully. The magical beasts immediately began to stare blankly after they heard these words. They looked at each other, and one of them asked, "Rum Guinness, does that mean that there's another story to your betrayal of the Gilligan clan?" All of them focused their gazes on Rum Guinness and waited for her answer. She nodded her head and said, "There are indeed a hidden truth to this matter. The betrayal of my husband and I, our betrayal of the Gilligan clan, was completely a lie forged by the Tiger King. The Tiger King wanted to eliminate our family. You've all been deceived by the Tiger King." The magical beast elders all became surprised with what Rum Guinness had said. What? Lies forged by the Tiger King? The Tiger King wanted to eliminate you? Rum Guinness, are you sure you're not trying to trick us? Rum Guinness, may I ask if you have any evidence regarding this? The Tiger King has no ill feelings toward your couple, let alone the fact that your husband was the brother of the Tiger King. Why would he want to eliminate your family? Rum Guinness, if you don't give us a logical explanation, we won't be believing you. The elders all spoke out. Very few of them believed Rum Guinness' words. After all, the Tiger King was one of the two kings of the clan. The prestige he possessed was just too great in the eyes of the elders. Rum Guinness looked toward the white tiger beside her, and her face immediately became kind. She said slowly, "It's all because of my child, because my child is the winged tiger god." What? The winged tiger god is your child? The elders all cried out in shock and disbelief as soon as Rum Guinness finished speaking. They all glanced past the winged tiger god and Rum Guinness once again in surprise. This piece of information was just too astounding to them, in no way less surprising than an actual bolt from the blue. The shock in the elders' hearts had peaked at this moment in time. They all struggled to believe that the winged tiger god was actually Rum Guinness' child. At this moment, several dozen tremendous presences appeared in all directions. The white tiger's roar had rung through the entire mountain range and alerted all the high-class magical beasts in the area. All the Class 7 magical beasts made their way toward the group. In that instant, more than 40 individuals of various ages had gathered around Jian Chen's group. They all radiated with a great presence, all Class 7 magical beasts in human form. Yu became rather nervous as soon as she became surrounded by them. However, she relaxed slightly after she saw how calm Jian Chen was as he stood beside her. After all, she did not face up against a group of humans this time, but a group of Class 7 magical beasts in the Cross Mountains that were known to be forbidden to humans. As soon as the magical beasts gathered, they all looked toward the awe-inspiring winged tiger god with no exception. Surprise and doubt flooded their eyes. It's the winged tiger god. It really is the winged tiger god. That's the winged tiger god of our magical beast race. I never thought that our beast god would finally appear once more after so many years. Very quickly, a few of the Class 7 magical beasts recognized the winged tiger god's identity and immediately cried out emotionally. They were ecstatic. However, there were other Class 7 magical beasts among them who became rather ugly in expression as well. Jian Chen glanced past all the Class 7 magical beasts nonchalantly and silently took note of their expressions. He paid particular attention to the ones who revealed rather ugly expressions once they saw the winged tiger god. He memorized them in detail. He knew all about the hidden truth when Rum Guinness and her husband were pursued by the Tiger King, except he was unable to prevent it or stop it. After all, Kaiser of the Beast God continent was the instigator behind the scenes. All he could do was watch the events unfold, as the two of them suffered from the Tiger King. The Prung King is too kind. I have stopped being a member of the clan long ago. Rum Guinness' voice was rather cold. Although the Prung King did not take part in the hunt for her and her husband, she did not know where the Prung King stood. As a result, she was extremely cautious of him and even possessed some hostility. The Prung King could naturally feel how Rum Guinness treated him. If an elder was so impolite to him before, he would definitely teach her a lesson. But it was different now. Rum Guinness was the mother of the winged tiger god, so her status was drastically different from before. Even as a king of the Gilligan clan, he needed to treat her politely and would fear offending her. This was why the Prung King could only smile indifferently toward how Rum Guinness reacted, and he said nothing more. Suddenly, a tremendous presence appeared. A burly, bare-chested middle-aged man flew over quickly in a threatening manner. His face was extremely dark while his eyes were cold as dense killing intent flickered inside. Jian Chen's gaze also began to sharpen, becoming like drawn swords. He stared closely in the direction of the presence and heavy killing intent appeared in his eyes as well. He made no effort to conceal it. Despite the distance, he could tell from first glance that it was the Tiger King. This individual had come out of Cross Mountains all those years ago to hunt down Xiao Bai and had almost claimed his life. In the blink of an eye, the Tiger King arrived before everyone and stood beside the Prung King. He maintained a 50-meter distance from Jian Chen's group. Hatred surged in Rum Guinness' eyes as soon as she saw the Tiger King. She gnashed her teeth and said, "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that I'd still be alive. Today, my son and I will personally kill you and tear you to shreds to take revenge for my husband." Her voice was riddled with emotion. The Tiger King paid no attention to Rum Guinness and stared darkly at the white tiger. A gleam of light flickered through his eyes and he thought, the growth of the winged tiger god really is terrifying. I never thought that it could reach Class 7 in such a short amount of time after being born. If it gets some more time, reaching Class 8 would be no problem for it, but he's no threat to me before he actually reaches Class 8. Afterwards, the Tiger King glanced past Jian Chen's group. He directly ignored Yu, but when he saw Jian Chen and Heiyu, his eyes narrowed by an undetectable amount. He could not see through their strength. Jian Chen's presence was covered up by the Saint artifact, which was impossible to see through with the Tiger King's current abilities. As for He Yu, he was a Saint King at great perfection. He was even greater than 9th heavenly layer Saint Kings, so if he erased his presence, the Tiger King could not see through it at all. Jian Chen was only at the 3rd heavenly layer of Saint Ruler the last time I saw him. No matter how outstanding his talent is, it's impossible for him to reach a level where I can't see through his strength in these short few years. The two of them are standing toward the back, so they clearly aren't anyone important. Looks like they've hidden their presence using a special method, but they aren't very strong. They're just faking it, thought the Tiger King. He immediately relaxed, before looking toward Rum Guinness and the White Tiger once again. The light in his eyes flickered. Jian Chen sneered, "Tiger King, you've probably never thought that we'd meet again so soon. Last time, you left the Cross Mountains to come find me on the Tianyuan continent, yet this time, I've come to find you in the depths of the Cross Mountains. You heavily wounded me last time, almost making me pass away. This is an irreconcilable matter. I will be taking my revenge today." The elders of the Gilligan clan all looked up at the Tiger King after they heard these words. They were all surprised. The Gilligan clan had an agreement with the humans, which stated that any magical beast beyond Class 7 could not step outside the Cross Mountains. Otherwise, the human experts would mercilessly slaughter them. Although the Gilligan clan was the greatest force within the Cross Mountains, their true strength was only equivalent to the ancient clans among humans. They were not the opponents of the entire human race at all. The only reason they had this territory was because the Beast God continent was supporting them from behind, so the world beyond the boundaries of the Cross Mountains were a forbidden zone that the elders of the clan could not trespass. However, never did they think that the Tiger King had crossed it and trespassed into the Tianyuan continent despite the consequences. They found this unbelievable. The Tiger King became enraged when he heard these words. If it were not for Jian Chen who put his life on the line to protect the winged tiger god, the white tiger would have ended up in his hands long ago. The supreme human experts would not have been alerted, and he would not have been forced to use a secret technique to flee, cannibalizing his cultivation, which dropped from the 2nd heavenly layer to the 1st. He had yet to recover even today. You dare to say such even with your limited abilities? Such impudence. You interfered with what I was doing last time. You're lucky for being able to live a little longer, but since you've trespassed my Cross Mountains today, don't think you can leave alive, the Tiger King said with gnashed teeth. He blamed Jian Chen for everything, so he felt an intense hatred for him. Tiger King, why don't you try me if you're so confident? I'd like to see how you prevent me from ever leaving the Cross Mountains again, sneered Jian Chen. Killing intent bloomed in his eyes. You arrogant brat. I'll deal with you after I deal with my family, the Tiger King said with a darkened face. Then he looked toward Rum Guinness and said coldly, Rum Guinness, you're actually working with humans as an elder of the Gilligan clan. Your crimes cannot be forgiven, and you shall be put to death on the spot. The Tiger King suddenly appeared next to Rum Guinness as soon as he finished speaking. Surging energy condensed in his palm and he struck out. This palm strike did not target Rum Guinness, but the winged tiger god beside her. The Pring King's eyes narrowed, and he sighed gently inside. He did not plan on interfering. He did not dare to interfere, as the connected matters were just too important. It was no longer a battle between him and the Tiger King. It would directly tie into the matters of the Beast God continent if he interfered. Chapter 1002, Eliminating the Tiger King. 2. The Tiger King held nothing back with his palm strike toward the winged tiger god. It shot out with a great might that almost caused the surrounding space to shatter. However, the space suddenly froze in the next moment. The Tiger King had used his spatial force to freeze it. This firmly immobilized the white tiger and prevented it from fleeing. Although the white tiger was a winged tiger god, it was still a Class 7 magical beast after all. A huge gap existed between it and Class 8 magical beasts, so it was unable to go up against the Saint King Tiger King with its current strength. However, the reactions of the white tiger were in no way slow. It growled deeply and shot backward in the form of a white blur. It moved with lightning speed in this crucial moment. It retreated to 20 meters away. The frozen space of the Tiger King was unable to trap it. The Tiger King's attack missed. The terrifying energy explosion actually surpassed the endurance of the space there and immediately caused space to cave in. It formed a hole the size of a pot as the space around it distorted randomly. A gleam of light immediately flashed across the Tiger King's eyes when he saw the winged tiger god break free from his frozen space. However, he did not stop at all. He pushed away the empty space and arrived before the white tiger with a single step. He swung his hand and the energy of the world began to condense quickly. Then, it formed a 10-meter-wide hand that grabbed at the white tiger. The huge hand enveloped a region of space and locked the white tiger out of all possibilities and directions of escape. The Tiger King had moved extremely suddenly. Coupled with his great speed, Rum Guinness and the other Class 7 magical beasts in the surroundings had just noticed him. Their faces changed instantly when they saw that the Tiger King wanted to kill the winged tiger god. "How dare you, Tiger King? The winged tiger god is the publicly acknowledged god of magical beasts. You are disrespecting the beast god. Have you betrayed us magical beasts?" Rum Guinness called out in panic. She spoke extremely sharply before she lunged toward the Tiger King regardless of the danger. She tried to stop him. The Pern King floated in place as he watched everything unfold. The light in his eyes constantly flickered. He was hesitating. Many people among the elders of the Gilligan clan were confused. They did not know why the Tiger King had suddenly attacked the winged tiger god, so they all became stunned there. They had never considered the possibility of the Tiger King trying to kill the winged tiger god. Only a small portion of them knew the truth to what had happened all those years ago, and the Ape King was one of them. "The Tiger King is trying to kill our god. Elders, stop him with me," the Ape King called out as he charged towards the Tiger King first. A few elders who did not know about the truth were astounded by the Ape King's words. Many of them immediately charged toward the Tiger King despite the danger, as they wanted to stop the Tiger King from laying his hands on the winged tiger. The Tiger King was a king of the Gilligan clan and possessed great prestige among the elders, but the winged tiger god was the god of magical beasts. It stood as a great god in the eyes of those elders, worthy of the respect and support of all magical beasts. As such, these elders had chosen to stand on the side of the winged tiger god given the situation without any second thought. However, it was too late. The Tiger King's attacks were just too fast, and it was nowhere near something that the Class 7 magical beasts could block. The huge hand condensed by the Tiger King had encased the white tiger completely, and it quickly tightened its grasp. It tried to crush the white tiger to death forcefully. At this moment, a devastating energy suddenly appeared. It flooded the sky, and its terrifying might and chilling presence surprised all the high-class magical beasts in the mountain range. Jian-Chen suddenly appeared in this crucial moment. His left hand was around Yu Yu's waist, while a layer of dark, beautiful chaotic force covered his right. He hurled the energy toward the Tiger King's condensed hand with lightning speed. Boom! A deafening sound immediately erupted when the two supreme energies collided in midair. Terrifying residual energy rocked the surroundings and swept out in all directions in the form of a ripple. The clash between Saint Kings was undoubtedly devastating. The surrounding space would immediately distort to its limit wherever the ripple of energy passed, as if it would cave in and shatter. Clouds of dust were kicked up into the air as the ground cracked. 10 whole mountains collapsed from the residual energy. Rock slides were triggered everywhere, which caused the ground to constantly shake as they produced rumbles. Jian-Chen easily dispersed the Tiger King's hand. The residual energy knocked the Tiger King back, which caused him to backpedal a few steps. Filled him with shock. All the Class 7 magical beasts that had charged up in an attempt to stop the Tiger King all came to a stop from the energy, before they retreated helplessly. Even Rum Guinness was affected. Jian-Chen punched out a second time to stop the incoming energy ripples and to prevent Yu Yu from being harmed. The Pern King stood several dozen meters away unmovingly. He stared at Jian-Chen in interest and his heart finally settled. He could not help but smile as he thought, "Looks like I've been worrying too much. The winged tiger god really does have something to count on for coming to the depths of the Cross Mountains despite knowing that the Tiger King wants to harm him." How is this possible? How can this be possible? How did you become so strong in such a short amount of time? The Tiger King cried out. Jianchen sneered, nothing is impossible. Tiger King, today will be the day you die. With that, Jianchen arrived before the Tiger King. He slapped toward the Tiger King's chest with a palm full of destructive chaotic force. Jianchen did not need to resort to the Emperor armament when he fought an injured First Heavenly Layer Saint King. The Tiger King roared angrily and darkness-attributed energy surged wildly from him. His hands turned into huge tiger paws and clawed at Jianchen's hand. Only when the claws came into contact with Jianchen's hand did the Tiger King discover in shock that his full-powered attack could not harm Jianchen at all. In the next moment, the sound of bones breaking rang out clearly. The Tiger King's paws had already become bent. Jianchen's hand broke his paws when they collided. The Tiger King groaned deeply. The agony made him pale slightly. He glanced at Jianchen in shock. Then he immediately shot backward. He reappeared 100 meters away. Impossible, impossible. This is impossible. When I saw you last time, you were only a mere saint ruler and could not even resist before me. Only 10 years have passed, so how has your strength reached such a level? The Tiger King glanced past his broken arms and looked at Jianchen. He became stunned as he murmured with a deep voice. He struggled to accept everything unfolding before his eyes. He immediately looked toward Heiyu doubtfully. Heiyu nodded slightly and said, "There's no need to panic, Brother Jianchen. I'll bring him over here right now." Heiyu casually swung his hand and ripped open space. A space gate formed quickly. In a region of wilderness 100,000 kilometers outside the Cross Mountains, a huge tiger crawled extremely weakly on the ground with matted, bloody fur. It seemed to even lack the strength to stand up. It was the Tiger King who had just fled. "Jianchen, you won't be able to live much longer. As soon as I recover some strength, I'll immediately report everything that has happened here to the ruler of the Beast God continent," the Tiger King muttered hoarsely with a vicious look. Suddenly his expression changed. He stared fixedly at the space up ahead as it began to distort wildly. A space gate quickly began to form as he stared helplessly. Crap! The Tiger King became terrified. Just as he struggled to climb to his feet, a huge hand condensed from energy reached out, formed the space gate, grabbing him and dragging him in. Only when the Tiger King passed through the space gate did he discover that he had returned to the depths of the Cross Mountains. "You don't have the power to flee before me, so quite wasting your energy," an old voice boomed. The Tiger King turned toward the sound. The black-clothed Heiyu stood beside him. The Tiger King's heart immediately turned cold. Despair permeated his heart. He knew that his conjectures were wrong. The old man behind him was a terrifyingly powerful expert. Chapter 1004, Gathering of 3 Saint Emperors. "Tiger King, why don't you keep running? Why aren't you running anymore?" Jianchen jeered at the Tiger King as he flew over from afar. The Tiger King showed no fear even though he knew that it was almost impossible for him to avoid this disaster. He looked at Jianchen with hatred, while his vicious gaze seemed like he had a blood feud with Jianchen. "If I knew that this would happen today, I should have killed you immediately when I met you the first time. How else would you have been able to survive today?" The Tiger King gnashed his teeth. Regret flooded his heart. A cold light flashed across Jianchen's eyes when he heard these words. He kicked the Tiger King's chest and blood sprayed from the latter's mouth. "It's a pity that time can't run backward. You are now my captive, and your life is in my hands. You have no right or power to kill me," Jianchen said coldly. Kill or torture if you want, but if you kill me, a great disaster will fall your way as well. The Beast God continent definitely will not just stand by with human experts trespassing and acting brazenly in the territory of my Beast God continent," the Tiger King said coldly. He still did not know that Jianchen now possessed the power to resist the experts of the Beast God continent. "Savior, can you let the two of us deal with the Tiger King? The Tiger King killed my husband and even wanted to harm us all those years ago. We have an irreconcilable hatred for him. I am a magical beast as well, so if I deal with the Tiger King, even the beast god continent can't say anything, said Rum Guinness in consideration of Jianchen. Jianchen nodded and said, all right then. I'll leave the Tiger King to you. Although Jianchen did not fear the beast god continent, Rum Guinness and the White Tigers had an intenser hatred for the Tiger King. It was more suitable for the two of them to take the Tiger King's life. Rum Guinness, you're a traitor of the magical beasts, and you want to overthrow the hierarchy? The Tiger King glared at Rum Guinness as he called out feebly. He tried very hard to maintain a dignified appearance, but it was an utter failure with his currently dejected look. Tiger King, my child is the winged tiger god. Even the rulers of the beast continent needs to treat him politely when they meet him. Not only have you failed to respect the winged tiger god, but you even tried to harm him time after time. What do you think you're trying to do? The one who's trying to overthrow the hierarchy is you. Rum Guinness said sharply, before she slowly arrived before the Tiger King. Hatred surged in her eyes and she gnashed her teeth. She asked, Tiger King, did you ever think you would end up like today when you harmed my husband and I? Mph, snorted the Tiger King. Then he closed his eyes and stopped talking, acting as if he was waiting for his death. At the same time, two burly middle-aged men stood with their hands behind their backs in an ancient mountain range far, far away from the Cross Mountains. They stood nonchalantly on the tallest, sword-shaped mountain as they allowed the wind to blow wildly around them. They stood unmoving like statues. If someone else were present, they would get an illusion from time to time that these two were a part of the world. They seemed inseparable from the surroundings. At this moment, the space above a mountain 2,000 meters from them began to twist violently. It quickly formed a space gate and an evil-looking middle-aged man in white robes emerged. The man floated in the air and looked toward the two people from afar. Only after a while did he speak slowly, Kaiser, Tiger Emperor, I never thought it was the two of you. Path Lord of the Carnal Desires, how have you been? Lanky Rose asked nonchalantly. Have the two of you forgotten the agreement between my Tian Yuan continent and your beast god continent? You've trespassed the territory of the Tian Yuan continent once again, so please leave immediately. The Path Lord's voice was extremely calm and possessed no emotions whatsoever. Kaiser said, Human Saint Emperor, we'll get straight to the point. We have personally come from the beast god continent because we want to work with you for something. A light flickered through the Path Lord's eyes when he heard this. He asked after a while of silence, what is it? Chapter 1005, Hong Lian, it regards the winged tiger god, Kaiser said slowly. He gazed mercilessly toward the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The Path Lord's expression remained the same. He had already guessed that it would be related to the winged tiger god when Kaiser stated he wanted to work together. After some more silence and pondering, the Path Lord asked, what are the details of working together? The Tiger Emperor said, Human Saint Emperor, you're a smart person as well, so you should know why we want the winged tiger god. The winged tiger god is the god of the magical beasts, so how can we allow a human youngster to raise it as a pet? However, that youngster has two experts protecting him, and they possess origin energy treasures that protect them, which makes even Saint Emperor unable to do anything to them. As a result, I want you to help us out and keep one of them busy. Once the winged tiger god matures, it'll surpass Saint Emperor. No one can contend with it other than the greatest human expert Mo Tianyuan in the ancient times. Do you really think that I'll help you and bring a calamity to my Tianyuan continent? The Path Lord said coldly. Kaiser and Lanky Rose had expected the Path Lord to say this long ago. Their expressions remained calm and Kaiser said, Human Saint Emperor, you are over-worrying. The winged tiger god will not invade your Tianyuan continent even if it fully matures, because your continent has nothing that tempts us. Only the beast god continent is truly suitable for us magical beasts, so you don't need to worry about that. Kaiser continued, there must be something on the winged tiger god that tempts you as well. If you agree to work with us, we'll give you 10 drops of the winged tiger god's essence blood as remuneration. You should know exactly how precious its essence blood is, so I don't need to explain any further. The Path Lord's eyes immediately lit up when he heard them mention the essence blood. A sliver of greed appeared in the very depths of his eyes. Kaiser and Lankiros did not continue to speak. Instead, they stared at the Path Lord in interest as they waited silently for his reply. "Alright, I'll work with you. I'll keep one of them busy." The Path Lord of Carnal Desires agreed in the end after quite some hesitation. He really did need the essence blood very much, and the only way to obtain it was to work with Kaiser and the Tiger Emperor. This was the only way to keep the two experts besides the winged tiger god busy. "Haha, I hope we can work together happily," said Kaiser as he laughed aloud. He was filled with confidence now that the Path Lord had promised to aid them. Lankiros also smiled as an indiscernible sliver of excitement appeared in the depths of his eyes. He thought, "Looks like it'll not be long until the day I enter the 99th floor of the Beast God Hall and receive the winged tiger god's legacy." He was happy to see Hong Lian, as there were not many people who had the right to be his friends in the artifact space. There was only He Yu and her. How is that possible? When we first broke free, He Yu had just reached the 8th heavenly layer, so how did he reach great perfection before me? Hong Lian found this unbelievable. He Yu did not bother to explain. With a flip of his hands, a piece of armor completely forged from blood-red plumage and an exquisite red hairpin appeared. A pearl-like white bead was attached to the red piece of armor. "Hong Lian, look at what these items are." Rui Jin smiled as he held the armor and hairpin. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.